a problem for many, many years, and everybody wanted to kick the can down the road, just like this budget situation. It's the last administration.
Okay.
No, it's this administration, and it's got to be the next administration. They've got to deal with these tough situations, and again, kind of scrimp on the corners, have the beans and rice. Don't go for the caviar and steak tonight.
Got it, Mike.
Have
All right,
little...
I'm going to leave it there. I want to show our viewers what Brendan Boyle, Democrat of Pennsylvania, had to say on the House floor. He is the ranking member of the House Budget Committee, the top Democrat there. And he said that the Republican plans to pass a new party line reconciliation bill, that's a budget bill, would add to the national debt. Here's what he had to say.
We have in this bill almost $100 billion in new.
Absolutely pathetic behavior from that caller. Republican, of course, cries about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, driving up the debt, saying it was a mistake. Bush blew it. He was gifted a balanced budget, a surplus, I believe. And he went to war. And then when asked about Trump's war, well, this one's different. We had to do it. That's what people felt in 2003, when we went to war with Iraq. It was like, we got to do this. We got to do it. Absolutely necessary. There were very few people saying don't do it. It was only after things started to fall apart after the first couple of months, people started getting real mad. But I don't remember a lot of people being against it. It's easy to convince people we need something.
Named my fantasy football team Purdy Fly for a white guy in honor of my liberal king #Ossoff4Pres #FDJT.
It's a good name. Zlubars, thank you for the resub, buddy. Get that. I don't see too much to talk about today, so I don't know what we're going to do. I was thinking maybe call-ins, but I don't know. I get cold feet every time. I don't know why. It's not that I'm concerned somebody's going to come up here and say something that bugs me or something like that. It's just like, I don't know. What's there to talk about? What's there to even talk about? It'll be people asking me about this race or that race that I don't know about and telling me about they're a race they're excited about that nobody's heard of and nobody can do anything about. So I don't know. Keep trying to figure out a way to do call-ins, but yeah. Find someone to trigger on Twitter. Yeah, I was thinking about it, inviting Jola to talk about his tweet at me, but I addressed that yesterday, so hopefully he saw that. But I'm not very good at like, hey, let's hash it out on stream kind of thing. I don't know. I just don't really care that much. The letters, you mean Natalie's letters? I don't know. Natalie is just, to me, she's not that interesting. It's like, yeah, what do you expect? Of course Trump has cult members that fawn over him and are inappropriate and dedicate their life to him. That she's a freak. I thought I saw that El Sayed was on CNN last night, but I couldn't find the interview anywhere. And I really don't give a shit about the Supreme Court allowing Trump to build his dumb ballroom. I kind of just put it in the title for history's sake. But we'll check out Meet the Press now and see what they're talking about. And we'll check in with PBS NewsHour. I'm sure we'll find some things. Always something. Who knows? New files. What files? That's very vague. DSA honoring Fidel Castro. That is beautiful. DSA, so clueless, man. I love this Angie Nixon woman, though. She's DSA on paper. She don't even sound like she knows their platform. In that interview with Kristen Welker yesterday, she seemed shocked at some of the positions. Like, do you support abolishing the Senate? Nope. Of course not. Are you a socialist? No, I'm a capitalist. I'm almost taken aback at some of the questions. So I wonder, I almost called into Destiny's channel today to ask him what he thinks of her. Because now it's like DSA has been so watered down by people like her who say, I don't agree with 90% of the platform. I joined weeks ago because of their push for Medicare for all and the excitement in the org. That's it. I mean, it's just kind of like, it is like almost what I said of maybe a month ago, that it's just a drinking club. Like it's a fun place to go. Like nobody believes in any of the shit they're talking about. It's just like, yeah, we want universal. Like this woman didn't even say Medicare for all, Angie Nixon. She said universal health care, which you don't need Medicare for all to have universal health care. You could have different types of coverage. You could expand the private system. You could expand Medicaid. I mean, whatever. So she's not even trying to claim Medicare for all. It's just kind of funny that like I could go join DSA and anybody can join. It's like the Satanic Temple, the non-religious organization that just fights Christian zealots who try to put the Bible in schools. And they say, okay, if you can put the Bible, then we get to put a statue of the devil. And they just troll religious groups. So it's kind of like turned into the Satanic Temple of political groups. Anybody's welcome. You don't have to believe any of it. You just can sign up. Any thoughts on Trump bringing in tons of foreign beef? I'm sure our ranchers are thrilled about that one. Why not? Is there no tent for progressives? Why are they all going to the DSA? I think it really is just that's where the excitement is. Like the young people have decided to organize around something a little edgier, and nobody wants to go to your boring Democratic Party meeting or get involved in the Democratic Party because it's just so lame in their eyes. And so it's an aesthetic. It's the cool club, but I don't think the vast majority of people involved give a damn about any of the policy that they're doing. They probably think, okay, I like the Gaza rhetoric and I like the Medicare for all stuff. That's about it.
I am not in the DSA, but I am a card-carrying member of DST. Hail Satan. Hail-lock.
Hail Satan. That's awesome. Thank you, IO, for the $5. Not a bad org to be a member of. Yeah, I'm gonna go try to join my local DSA and see what happens. Why not? Let me see what are they up to here? Are they crying about Trump's ballroom? Actually, they got a few things here. Okay, they're talking about some polls. All right. They got some stuff for us to work with here, I think. Let's take a look.
Welcome to
Optimistic or pessimistic? Well, if you've been around my stream for more than 10 minutes, you already know the answer to that question. Come on, I'm always optimistic about the next 10 years in America in light of our national debt. I think we have an opportunity to make a lot of money off AI. It's like the 90s when the internet came along and we had a shit ton of money and we had a surplus in government. I mean, AI has the potential to bring in a crap ton of money and could solve a lot of problems and help bring down the debt. You know, I've been talking about for a while, hey, something will come along, some innovation. There'll be something that the U.S. leads on that we can hopefully pay down the debt at some point. And I'm not really concerned about the overall debt. I'm more concerned about the interest payments related to it, because you could pay for universal child care with tens of billions of dollars, you know. So what are we doing? We're paying interest, $1.2 trillion in interest. I remember when I was heavily in debt, at one point, I finally wrote down all my debt. And what I would encourage people to do is I created an Excel spreadsheet with my debt and I also made a section for how much am I paying minimum to all my credit cards and like car and stuff like that, just to see how much I'm paying in interest. And I remember it was like $1,200 or $1,100 in debt payments I was making, and I like my jaw hit the floor. I had never calculated. I'm like, wow, like a lot of my money at the time was going to pay debt. And it just like, what could I do with that money if I didn't have credit card debt and a car payment and all that? And it motivated me to really start getting my act together. So I look at the $1 trillion+ we're paying a year to serve our debt, and I can't help but think of all the wasted money and what we could be spending that on. So I personally think the debt is going to become a much bigger talking point, and I'd like to see the Democrats take the lead and get ahead of that, because Democrats have a history of letting the Republicans get all excited about a problem and not ride the wave and lead. I think Democrats are doing a good job with the data centers right now. Republicans are kind of asleep at the wheel, and Democrats are jumping on being against them. So that's good. But I think Democrats need to do something about the debt too. It's easily dismissible in the sense that we can outgrow the debt if our GDP grows. So if you have $10,000 in credit card debt and you make $50,000 a year, you're hurting. I don't know what the minimum payment is on that, but it's not fun, right? Like $10,000 in debt when you make 50 grand a year sucks. But if you get a raise and now you're making $50, or I'm sorry, now you're making $100,000 a year. Well, $10,000 in debt is not as harsh. It still sucks, but it's like definitely not as painful. You have much more room. So I always thought the way out of our debt is just to outgrow it by increasing GDP, and maybe AI will allow us to do that and maybe even pay down some of the debt. You got PayPal. I think it's listed in my video description. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. I'll get an email if you send me something on PayPal. But it's all good.
Meet the Press now. I'm Kristen Welker in Washington. The president and vice president are hitting the road with less than 3 months to the midterms as they confront economic headwinds, with affordability top of mind for voters heading into November. Today, President Trump heading to South Carolina to campaign with Republican Senator Darlene Graham, who struggled this week on the debate stage.
She might actually lose. She had a terrible debate performance where she said, I don't know anything about the Taiwan issue, so I'm just going to be honest and say I support our troops. She just kept saying throughout the debate, I support our troops. I trust Trump. What an idiot. And the fact that she's a sitting senator right now is even more alarming. And then she also got the population of South Carolina wrong by a mile. She said 50 million people. 50 million people live in South Carolina, huh? That's interesting. California has 40 million, and we're a giant compared to other states. And she thought, I didn't even see anyone giving her the grace to say that she misspoke. So at this point, people are convinced that she believed the population of South Carolina was 50 million, which is wild. And her opponent, Ralph Norman, is no slouch. And he's a sitting congressman. He's pretty hardcore MAGA. And I'm seeing some articles saying that he might triumph on Tuesday when they have their runoff election. Again, that's an election to replace Lindsey Graham on the November ballot to serve a full 6-year term as a senator in South Carolina. So she may have blown her chances in that debate, and we'll be watching the results come in on Tuesday. Pretty fascinating. But Trump is sticking by his woman and holding a rally for her tonight, though I'm sure he'll just talk about himself all night long and whatever nonsense.
Her primary runoff is in just a few days against Congressman Ralph Norman. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance is in his home state of Ohio, where former Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown is facing off against incumbent Senator John Husted in a race that could decide control of Congress. Speaking in Middletown, the vice president touted the administration's work on the economy and manufacturing while also maligning Democrats.
Whether it's child predators, Somali
Aligning Democrats. John Husted John Husted has a tough race here. Cook Political Report putting this down as a toss-up. Oh, snap. $50. Oh, man. Samazio. How do you say that? Samazio Logistics? Thank you, Samazio. I don't know how to say that. Appreciate the $50, man. No message. Just giving me money. Hell yeah. Let's freaking go, man. I appreciate it. That's cool, man. That's not a small gesture at all. Is there a Democrat running for Senate in South Carolina? There is. Her name is Annie Andrews, I think her name is. She's a doctor, a pediatrician. And because of this mess, people are saying she may have a chance, though. I haven't seen any evidence to support that she has a good chance of winning. But, you know, if everything goes, if things just go incredibly on election night in November, then maybe. I mean, I would say that the Democrat has a chance if Darlene wins. Let's just put it like that. If Darlene loses to Ralph Norman and isn't on the ballot, I think the Democrat doesn't have much of a chance. But I think her name is Annie Andrews, and she's a solid candidate from what I've seen. I looked into her a couple weeks ago. But it's South Carolina, man. Come on. I think JD's underrated. The problem for JD is that he is associated with the Trump administration, and he's not going to be able to create distance between himself and Trump if he runs, which I think he will. And if he becomes the nominee, it's going to kind of be like Biden or Kamala with Biden, in that she didn't really say anything negative about Biden because it's your boss, right? And you would look stupid if you talk shit about your own administration, because it is the Trump-Vance administration. He's the only person in Trump's cabinet that can't be fired because he was elected to that position. So he's responsible for this administration as well. So he's going to continue to say positive things as the administration does worse and worse, and Trump's approval ratings continue to go down over the next couple of years. And Trump, he will maintain a firm grip on the party all the way through the 2028 election and the end of his presidency. I mean, he'll still have at least 30+% of the base behind him. So you can't go against Trump. So even if JD Vance was a stellar candidate, I don't think he has a chance because of that. Had the misfortune to live in South Carolina for a couple of years. Damn. Problem is we have to have stellar candidates while Republicans can run literal idiots. Welcome to being a part of the party that's trying to solve problems and be as inclusive as possible and not lie to the American people and actually be serious and not just trying to enrich themselves. You know, it turns out you gotta run an honest campaign, and you can't deceive people. I mean, it's easy to get rich if you can scam people, right? Go down to the local shelter and get a dog and go sit on the corner of a busy intersection with your dog and say, homeless, just looking for a job, please help. And you'll make $100 a day. You know, there's tons of ways to scam people if you want, but it's not. The Democratic Party doesn't believe in scamming people like the Republicans. It's like when I hear people say the DNC doesn't have any money, that the DNC's in debt and isn't fundraising well. It's like, compared to what? They say, well, look at the Republicans. They have hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, because Trump is running a scam. It's a grift. That's his piggy bank to be corrupt. So how can you compare the Democrats to that? I mean, I guess if the Democrats run on being corrupt and doing favors for friends and businesses, then we can compete. But is what it is.
Fraudsters, foreign gang members, or even visa fraudsters who are working to undercut American wages and steal from American taxpayers, the Democrats know who they stand for. It's anyone but you. Get out there and fight for yourself by telling the far-left radicals who have taken over the Democratic Party, this is not your country, it's our country, and we're going to fight for it.
Whoa. Wow. So inspiring. Now, the problem for JD is that Ohio is a toss-up right now. It's not looking good for Republicans. The top of the ticket, they've got John Husted, who replaced JD Vance and has not won a Senate race. He was lieutenant governor, I believe, so he has won statewide, but he's untested in a Senate race. And he's up against a formidable opponent, Sherrod Brown. And Cook Political Report has Ohio as a toss-up. So, and then John Husted is getting no help from the other statewide big candidate, which is for governor, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's not doing well either. So, not looking good for Republicans in Ohio. Register Republican, I'll run to the polls to vote for Andy Bashir. Okay. So are you saying for president? Because he's not up for election this cycle, and I think he's term limited at this point since he won re-election in 24. So what does that mean? I don't get it.
It all comes as recent polling shows the president is deeply underwater on issues tied to affordability. And today, the president looking to ease some of that price pressure, announcing a plan via social media to reduce tariffs on imported beef as part of an effort to lower prices. There are also more signs of midterm momentum for Democrats, with election forecasters at the Cook Political Report moving Senate races in Texas and Iowa from lean Republican to toss-up.
What a time to be alive. Look at that. Texas is a toss-up. How? How did the Republicans screw this up so royally that Texas statewide is a toss-up? They also moved the governor's race from solid R to lean R. And Iowa, these are states that Trump won by double digits. I mean, Texas is quite red, but Iowa, he won by like 13, I don't even remember, 11, 13%. And it's a toss-up? Nobody even knows who the candidate is for the Democrats in Iowa. We know the great Paralympian two-time gold medalist, Josh Turek. But I mean, I guarantee most people have no idea who the hell is running for Senate for the Democrats in Iowa. This is what I love. Let me show you guys something. This is remarkable. Hold on. I took a look at the Cook Political Report Senate race ratings, and they have like a breakdown. And this is remarkable. So, according to Cook Political Report, so just so you guys know, there's like there's a couple of these organizations that rate races, and the two big ones are Cook Political Report and Larry Sabato's Crystal Ball. But Cook Political Report, this is what they live for. And what I'm looking at is the toss-ups. There's 5 Republican seats listed as toss-ups for the Senate map. I mean, wow, Alaska is a toss-up, Iowa, Maine, Ohio, and Texas. Damn. That's crazy. And then there's even a Republican seat, Lean D. They've moved North Carolina from toss-up, which is currently occupied by a Republican, Tom Tillis, who's not running for re-election. And they moved it into Lean D. So if you add up the 5 Republican toss-ups and the 1 Lean D, that's 6 seats. That is 6 seats that could be in the Democrats' hands come January 3rd when the 120th Congress gets sworn in. We only need to win 4 to flip the Senate. It's 47 seats for the Democrats to 51 for the Republicans right now. Or 53, I'm sorry. 47 senators who caucus with the Democrats. There's 2 independents and 53 Republicans. So we only have to flip 4. Now, this is why I'm confident that there's a path to win, even if we lose Michigan. I'd like to see Michigan go our way, but, you know, seems like El Sayed is trying his damnedest to hold on to his buddy Hassan and doesn't want to change much, though there is some discussion about him changing on his Medicare for All plan. He now is behind private insurance playing a role as supplemental, not duplicate. So like as an alternate, but as supplemental, similar to what Medicare does. And that is not his position in his book. In fact, I read his book pretty recently from 2020, and he talks about how that will undermine Medicare for All if there is any private option at all. So it's quite a shift for him. I was trying to find a video or an article about that, but I couldn't really find much. But there is some grumbling right now from like the Jacobin types, the further left people, saying, what's going on here, man? This guy's selling out, and he's now talking about private insurance playing a role with Medicare for All. That's not cool. But anyways, even if we lose Michigan, which I'm not convinced we will, but let's say we do, we could still win 6 seats and have even 1 extra seat, right? So if we lose Michigan, we have to flip 5 seats instead of 4. I could see us getting 5 out of these 6. Why not? And I still think we win Michigan as of right now. It's just kind of harder with what our buddy Abdul El Sayed is doing. Now, and look at this. This is why every time you guys talk about Kansas, I'm like, okay, or Arkansas. Look, this is solid R, likely R. So until that, I see some movement over there, and I'm not counting on those races.
And a new AARP poll out of Michigan showing progressive Democrat Abdul El Sayed has largely consolidated a fractured Democratic electorate and finds himself in a tight Senate race against Republican Mike Rogers.
This shouldn't even be close, man. This is embarrassing. He's up 1 point, and the polls for El Sayed have overestimated progressive support. That's what we saw in the primary. There were polls with him plus 17, and he barely won by less than 1%. So I think that these polls are overestimating his support right now. I mean, and one thing I'm seeing, which is always a bad sign, I'm seeing this effort of Democrats for Mike Rogers and some real movement behind it. I don't know how big it is, but anytime you start to see like the other party for the other side's candidate, that's when you know things are really bad. That's when you know things aren't going well. Should not be close. No, shouldn't be close at all. What about Kalshi? I don't even look at the betting markets. Remember, these are the same betting markets that had Hong winning 95%, like I think the betting markets are so useless now. They just flip based on what's going on. Riot may be too strong a term. They were anti-Muslim protests. Oh, I mean, I'm sure there's astroturfing. Like, I don't think the Democrats for Rogers are sincere for the most part. I do think it's completely astroturfed by Mike Rogers and Republicans. But the thing is, it looks legitimate, and I think it may be able to siphon away a few people. They've scared enough people that Abdul El Sayed is going to bring Sharia law or whatever. I don't know, their nightmare scenario is. But this is why I think Abdul El Sayed has to throw Hassan under the bus. That would be a great example. Hassan is the face of extremism when it comes to the thing they're scared about with like Muslims growing, like Muslim control in America, Sharia law, whatever. Like, I'm not saying, well, I shouldn't say Hassan is the face of that, but Hassan like represents this sort of like extreme socialist, communist, China loving, America hating element. And I think it's not necessarily that they're concerned about Islam or Muslims taking over. It's more about losing their way of life in general. That's we've talked about it a lot on this channel, but The reason why I think we need to take people's concern about socialism and communism more seriously is because it's not like they actually believe socialism or communism is going to take over. When they think socialism, they think I'm going to lose my way of life. That means women aren't going to be able to wear short shorts. We're going to have to we're going to lose baseball. We're just whatever it means to be American. Like trucks will be banned. Everybody has to drive a Prius. Men have to wear dresses and everybody has to use pronouns. Just nonsense. They're just concerned that they'll lose their way of life. Trans all the kids. Yeah. So this is why I say let's not dismiss people's concerns about socialism. They're not talking about, they don't even know what socialism is. I mean, let's be honest. People are joining the DSA who don't even know what democratic socialism is. This woman, Angie Nixon, who won the nomination for Senate in Florida, disagrees with all of the big things. She says the reason she joined is universal health care. She doesn't even say Medicare for all. Universal health care, and that they're active. And she joined a bunch of other things like Working Families Party. She probably joined Sam's Club, Costco, Hair Club for Men. I don't know. But she joined all these things just a few weeks ago. And so I think most people that are claiming these titles like socialist or democratic socialist don't even know what it is and don't care. They're like, this is exciting and fighting for big things. So I like that. I heard her say Medicare for all. Did you? We went back and looked at it yesterday. I may have missed it, but I remember her saying universal universal health care. I could have sworn. Maybe I was wrong. Lower salary, worse goods. Yeah. Not a fan of Hassan. Jank is a bit obnoxious at times, but is far better. I don't know about that one. I mean, I think they're two different bads. Jank is obsessed with Israel. Everything is Israel's fault, and he's way too open to talking to crazy people and indulging them, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Charlie Kirk and Elon Musk. I mean, he's all up in their business to get clout and internet points and just make a name for himself. I mean, his whole presidential run was a total joke. He claimed he was running for president in 2024 so that he could get 20% in a poll, and that would get people like Josh Shapiro and Gretchen Whitmer and Pete Buttigieg to enter the race and primary Biden. And he came nowhere near that. He even got mad when Michigan's uncommitted movement got way more votes than he did. So I just think he's brain broken. And like, he talks about Israel. Israel supports pedophiles because you can go there if you're a pedophile or something. It's like, he's just obsessed with Israel. It's not healthy at all. Wasn't Jank doing a MAGA pivot after the 24 election? Well, I think in December of 2024, before Trump took office, he went to a Turning Point USA event and sat across from Charlie Kirk, and he was trying to get the crowd all riled up, talking shit on Mitch McConnell, and he was being very friendly and talking about how we can do stuff. And then when Doge was being talked about, he asked if he could run the Doge part that looks into the military, I believe, the Pentagon, which was a total joke. It was like when the Quartering tweeted at Elon Musk if he could be CEO of Twitter. Remember that? Like, it's just so pathetic. Like, I'll be CEO. Oh, okay, little guy, calm down. But man, if you like him, that's up to you. I debated him on Jubilee. It was pretty funny. I called him a political pickup artist because he just tells people, do this one simple thing and we'll change the world. It's like, come on, bro. This is somehow even worse than what I remember. Oh, I mean, look into it and see. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. That's how I remember it. Hassan complaining about Moskowitz wanting to join Doge caucus, yet his uncle actually wanted to join Doge. Yeah, true.
Joining me now is NBC News White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor.
Which, by the way, as Jack said, it was a caucus in Congress. There's like a million caucuses in Congress. There's like dog walkers caucus. There's literally bagel enjoyers caucus that Dan Goldman runs. There's like 1,000 caucuses in Congress. It wasn't even a committee. It was just a caucus, like Democrats and Republicans who thought, you know what, let's tap into this Doge energy before it proved itself to be a total failure. Were the singing senators a caucus? Probably. Pup Cup caucus? Probably. The reason why I know there's so many caucuses, go look at like any member of Congress's website and you'll see they're a member of like 30 caucuses. And it's funny. It's like single dads caucus, girl dad caucus, dogs with 3 legs that survived a car accident caucus. I mean, it's just anything you can think of. It's so funny. I'm exaggerating a bit, but there is a bagel caucus run by Dan Goldman.
NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor, who is in South Carolina ahead of the president's remarks tonight. It's a big night in South Carolina. Let's start, though, with Yamiche at the White House, where we're seeing both the president and vice president on the campaign trail. So, Yamiche, let's talk strategy. Is this
any shot Republicans lose the farmer vote due to soybean debacle and foreign beef? I would add diesel prices to that list as well. Yes, I mean, I don't think farmers are going to shift over, but look at Iowa. It is now a toss-up for the Senate race, and the governor's race is lean D, and Iowa's chock full of farmers. So, yeah, I think farmers are, quite upset right now at what's going on. Fertilizer too. Potash from Canada and fertilizer from the Persian Gulf that's not getting through the Strait of Hormuz goes to the rest of the world that, if other people's supply of fertilizer is cut off, then they're going to come after our supply. So, yeah, I mean, it must be tough to be a farmer. But I don't know. Those people they're just addicted to punishment and love to vote for Republicans who screw them over time and time again. Scared that they're going to have to announce their pronouns. So they're terrified of the culture war bullshit, willing to tank their own livelihood for it, I guess.
Pivot that we're going to see as November approaches?
Well, it's a key question. And Kristen, as you know, as the midterms get closer, administrations start to then fan out across the country, making their case for why their parties should still be in office. We expect the Trump administration, then the president himself will do the same. The interesting thing here, though, will be sort of who goes where. We saw the vice president going to Ohio, talking specifically in a factory where his grandfather used to work for decades. That really tells you that this is an administration that's not just going to also tout their economic policies, but they're really going to try to make personal connections with voters on the campaign trail. It'll be very interesting to see where the president goes. But yes, I think that this is them starting to move toward the midterms, even though if we are a few, of course, months out from the actual voting. Kristen?
Yeah.
Dude, there's nothing the Trump administration can do to win the midterms at this point. They're just going to have to hope that the more extreme left candidates boost the Republican turnout. That's it. I mean, and that's not a great strategy. Like, I'd way rather have the economy and the Iran war on my side for motivating voters than socialism bad. That doesn't seem like it's going to come anywhere near being a priority compared to the cost of living and high gas prices and the war in Iran going nowhere. So, not sure Trump has any tricks up his sleeve here. I know people say he's going to cheat, and if we even have free and fair elections, but I'm confident we will. It's really tough to rig the elections. And anyways, Trump has already spoiled his plans, right? First, it was the mid-decade redistricting, which is ridiculous. That turned out to be a draw for the most part. Republicans came out ahead a couple of seats, but that to me, that's not going to make much of a difference. And it pissed off a lot of people too, them doing that. So I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. And then you had the Voting Rights Act getting gutted even further by the Supreme Court, and that helped them a little bit, but they could only push so far with that. So I don't think that was that big of a win for them, the mid-decade redistricting. And then Trump kind of spoiled his argument about the elections being rigged in two ways. One was claiming the California elections were rigged, and he cited Spencer Pratt's race for LA mayor, where Spencer Pratt, the Republican, was in second place on election night, and then the other Democrat slowly chipped away at his lead as they counted the mail-in ballots over the next 2 weeks, and he dropped into third place and did not advance to the general, and Trump claimed fraud. Well, that's got to be one of the worst races to use as an example of rigged elections if you're Donald Trump, because Democrats outnumber Republicans 4-1 in Los Angeles, and not even a lot of Republicans believe that a Republican can win mayor of Los Angeles. And it's one of the bluest cities in one of the bluest states. It's a total joke. So Trump looked like a fool. And then a couple of weeks ago, he had that address the nation in prime time, talking about China tried to interfere in 2020, and then he released all these documents that just totally undermined his argument. Nobody gave a shit, nobody cared, and everybody moved on within days. So I don't really see Trump interfering in the midterms successfully. Is he going to try? Sure, they'll try all sorts of dumb shit, but our elections are decentralized. It's like thousands of precincts across the nation, and all sorts of election officials involved. So it's really tough to mess with our elections. Have you seen any evidence of Musk rigging the machines in 24? No, it seems what Musk did is illegal payments to people. That those payments in Pennsylvania are looking more and more illegal. But I don't think anything can stop the big blue wave that's coming in like 74 days. Let me see. How many days until the midterms? 74 days, guys. It's right around the freaking corner, man. This nightmare is about to take a huge step towards ending. I mean, Trump is already a lame duck president. There's some things he can do still that cause problems, but he is weak right now, and it's going to get way worse when Democrats take at least the House and could even take the Senate. I mean, he's going to be in a world of trouble.
That certainly seems to be a shift. The president announcing, Amish, this deal to try to lower beef prices. Based on your conversations with administration officials, is this effectively an acknowledgement by the president that voters are concerned about prices and affordability, and he's got to do something about it?
Well, it's a hard line to walk because the president has continued to...
Bro, what are you spamming in my YouTube chat, man? Type in one sentence. Z Corp Alpha 2462. What are you even talking about? You're just saying random shit. You got one more chance, buddy. All right. One more chance. Make sense. Say something or else you're a bot. I'm going to remove you.
Want to say that the economy is doing well, that there are a number of officials at the White House who continue to echo that message. But talk to any American across this.
Any chance Democrats actually use their majority this time? Or will they be too scared like last time? What do you mean too scared like last time? They impeached him twice last time, and it helped us win the 2020 election. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What did the Democrats not do when they had the majority last time? And you know they lost it in 2023, right? So what did the Democrats not do last time? Please tell me. Go ahead. What did they not do? Was impeaching him twice not enough for you? I don't get it.
Country, and you will hear, of course, the stories of people who are saying that it is simply...
Ah, yes, a fellow Dem that thinks we don't do anything. Yeah, you're not going to do so well around my channel if you're shitting on the Democrats. This is not the place to do that. I tell you right now.
Frig you. I'm bringing up important historical facts, nitwit.
Nitwit? Listen, thanks for your $5, dork, but we'll never hear from you again. I couldn't care less if you give me money and you act like a fool, you're out of here. I don't care. What a bot, man. Yeah, Angie. Yeah. Take your medicine, buddy. This is a serious message to that guy I just deleted. Please reread the label on your medicine. There may be something in the instructions that you missed or you're just assuming and got wrong because something's off. And I just want you to be okay? I don't want you to be shooting up the McDonald's when I go this weekend and try to enjoy my number one in peace, all right? I don't need you coming in there shooting the place up.
Too expensive to live in this country, and that people are looking for an adjustment in cost of living. And of course, the president himself would say that he was elected in part, some would say a large part, some would say a small part, but definitely in part.
The South Carolina Democratic Party Spread Issues Conference will be tomorrow. Keynote speaker will Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, nice. Pete everywhere. He headlined the Michigan Unite the Ticket rally after their big primary. So look at that. Pete Buttigieg bringing people together. Thank you, Roku, for the $20 super chat. How far off is Peter here? Okay. He's in 4th place in our monthly poll right now. Nice. Respectable. W Big Mac. Hell yeah.
Because of people's economic concerns. So in some ways, this is, I think, the president trying to pivot in at least a bit there to say, yes, we want to give people some help here economically, but at the same time, the president continuing to try to also have to run during the midterms by saying that he has a great economy, that Americans are doing well. So I think it's a tough sort of a tough walk that the president's having to make here, as he's having to both do something about the policies and help people while also arguing that things are going well, Kristen.
Things are going well. I do not envy Donald Trump and the Republicans trying to tell people things are great. We're doing fantastic right now. Look at the stock market, guys, right? It's like, well, 40% of America doesn't have a dollar in the stock market and is not seeing anything from that. Those grocery prices are plummeting. Everything's cheaper, man. So glad Trump's president.
And of course, on the economy, the president gave Canada that 3-day reprieve on those 50% tariffs. That's supposed to expire tonight. Yamiche, what are you hearing about where things stand?
Well, I can tell you I'm going to continue to talk to White House sources to see what happens at midnight. The president has said that he still wants to make a deal, but we haven't really heard any updates about what's going on since then. So that was a few days ago when the president said that. So I'm definitely watching closely and definitely talking to sources. I'm sure you are too, Kristen, about where this lands at the stroke of midnight. Kristen?
Well, we know exactly what's going to happen. In the next few hours, Trump is either going to announce a deal or he's going to taco out and say, I'm giving it another week. The talks are going swimmingly, and he's going to totally chicken out. In what world is Trump going to allow more tariffs to go into place 74 days before the midterms? Like, yeah, now's the time for more tariffs. Why not?
Yeah, we certainly will be. Yamiche Alcindor starting us off at the White House. Yamiche, thank you so very much. Sahel, let me turn to you. In South Carolina, the center of all of the action tonight, what will you be watching for as the president campaigns for Senator Darlene Graham, particularly amid these fresh questions about her qualifications?
Hey, Kristen, well, President Trump is scheduled to speak right behind me in a few hours. The single biggest thing I'm going to be watching for is, can he close the deal for Darlene Graham? Can he convince, ahead of Tuesday's runoff primary, can he convince a state full of Republican voters who support him very strongly but don't know much about her that she deserves 6 years in the Senate? Now, you and I have both spoken to Republican strategists who have told us that Darlene Graham's campaign is in a precarious position, particularly after that debate performance a few days ago where she made a couple of rookie mistakes. She said national security is not really her thing. She inflated South Carolina's population by 9-fold. She's been getting hammered for that by her Republican rival Ralph Norman, a 5-term congressman, and by MAGA-friendly conservative media. One question I have is Trump going to address that? Because it is on the minds of some voters. I've been speaking to voters all day today, Kristen, here, and they say Trump's endorsement does matter to them. For some of them, it's enough, but for others, it's not quite so simple. Take a listen.
And who do you plan to support in the primary, Darlene Graham or Ralph Norman?
Probably Darlene.
And why is that?
Probably. She has a Darlene sticker on her shirt. And she's still saying probably Darlene. Damn. Imagine that. That's crazy. Probably Darlene. Damn.
Honestly, I don't know as much about the platforms there, but if Trump supports her, I do too.
Darlene Graham or Ralph Norman?
Darlene.
And why is that?
Because Trump's endorsing her.
Who do you plan to vote for in the primary, Darlene Graham or Ralph Norman?
I'm going to vote for Ralph Norman, unfortunately for Graham, but not to say, it's just that she's untested.
Did you watch the debate? I'm curious if that moved you at all.
I did, and that was part of the reason her answer on foreign affairs, when it came to China and Taiwan, it was really unclear that she knew her foreign policy. And to me, that was the biggest issue with me.
Now here's where it gets more interesting, Kristen. I spoke to other voters who are undecided. One woman told me she's undecided. She watched the debate. She was not happy with parts of Darlene Graham's performance, and she wants to hear from her and from the president tonight, and we'll make up her mind then. Those are the types of voters that Trump and Darlene Graham have to speak to and sell the deal on tonight.
And they only have a few hours tonight and then a few more days to do it. Let me ask you about the Democrats, because South Carolina in focus for them as well. Pete Buttigieg will be in South Carolina. It comes after the DNC formally made the Palmetto State the first primary in 2028. What are you expecting from Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah, Kristen, let's start with the fact that this fall, South Carolina is extremely unlikely to be in play for Democrats. So whoever wins this primary between Darlene Graham and Ralph Norman is heavily favored to win the general election. Now, looking ahead to 2028, Pete Buttigieg is going to be in South Carolina tomorrow at an event hosted by the state Democratic Party in Florence, just about 90 minutes away from here. It's no coincidence that he's here. Pete Buttigieg ran for president in 2020. He wears his presidential ambitions on his sleeve. He's highly likely, it appears, based on all his signals, to run for president again in 2028. You know, one thing this state has a lot of, black voters in the Democratic primary. They were his Achilles heel last time. He needs to win, and any Democrat who wants to be the nominee in 2028 needs to do well with black voters. So I expect if he runs, he's going to spend a lot of time here. The Democrats in 2028 are going to be barnstorming all over South Carolina because it's the first primary. And then, Kristen, the irony, we're probably never going to see the winner of the primary again in the state because, again, it's a red state that Republicans are likely to carry in the fall. But in the primary, it carries added significance, huge significance for the Democratic Party.
It's going to be fascinating to see what Democrats do in South Carolina for a year. Normally, they're in Iowa and New Hampshire because those were historically the first primaries in the nation. Now, the DNC chose South Carolina, followed by New Mexico, Nevada, and ultimately Michigan as the first big state. So that's definitely going to change up the campaigns and the people that run. I think if you win South Carolina, it'd be a big jumping board to the next stage of the primary. So that's why the Democrats chose it, because it's a more diverse state. Iowa is a very white, no offense to white people as a fellow white, but it's a very white state, like 90% white or something. It's pretty wild and old too. So Democrats deciding in 2024, when they first changed the calendar, even though it wasn't a real primary, just to try it out, deciding that appealing to a more diverse state and trying to go for the South too, and is a better bet. It'll help them win over more people through the general. And when you have somebody like Jon Ossoff doing so well in a southern state like Georgia, it shows you that, hey, maybe that is the way to go, to find somebody like Jon Ossoff. And South Carolina going first is huge for Jon Ossoff, of course.
Certainly does. Let me ask you, Sahil, because of course we've been reporting on this week. Cook moved its ratings for the Texas and Iowa Senate races from lean Republican to toss-ups. What are your Republican sources telling you about how that's impacting their confidence of holding on to the Senate?
There are growing.
Happy Friday, I and Lib from Elia. Mark Edward Horatio Kelly.
Actual Facts Racing with the $20 super chat. Hell yeah. Thank you, bro. Mark Kelly getting some love. All right. he's in a comfortable first place. Kind of surprised to see him up there. He hasn't been in the news or anything really, but Mark on top. Yeah, another week in the Trump administration. It's crazy, man. I remember thinking back when Trump won that it was going to be, a real slog to get through this administration's 4 years. But here we are. We're almost up, over a year and a half and on the right at the door of the midterms. So moving along.
Concerns on the Republican side, Kristen. It's not that Republicans are giving up, especially in the Senate. They know they have such big structural advantages that if you look at the map, in any normal year, Democrats have no business even being competitive for the Senate majority. But right now it looks like a toss-up because the landscape, the political environment has broken so heavily against Democrats. If you just look at the key factors here that midterms come down to, presidential approval is one of them. President Trump's approval is very low. It's fallen as low as the mid to high 30s in some nonpartisan polls. There's perceptions of the economy. You just showed some polls that show his handling of the economy. Voter trust in him on the economy has bottomed out to unprecedentedly low levels in either of his terms. And then there's a question of who turns out, who has more enthusiasm. Right now, it's very clearly, according to just about all the data, the Democrats, Kristen.
All right. Well, a lot of moving parts. Sahil, you are there to track all of it in South Carolina. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And if it's Friday, we've reached the end of the road on our drive to Decision Day. Our own John Allen and crew have made their way to Omaha and Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, the so-called blue dot in the deep red state, with Democrat Denise Powell facing Republican Brinker Harding in a race to replace the retiring Republican Congressman Don Bacon. Omaha is the last stop in John's 5-state, 6-day, 8-district tour along I-80 that introduced us to voters in the competitive districts that may very well determine control of the House in November. John Allen joins me now. John, you have been tireless on this tour. It's your final stop. We have loved every stop along the way. Take us to Nebraska with you. What is at stake for Democrats in Nebraska's again, what we call the blue dot?
Yeah, I'm here in Omaha, which is most of the 2nd district. What's at stake for Democrats here is what should be one of the easier races for them to win if they're going to take control of the House. I say that because, as you point out, it's called the blue dot. Kamala Harris won this district by about 4 points in the last presidential election, but it is represented by a Republican incumbent, Don Bacon, who won by about 2 points. Bacon is retiring, and as you mentioned, Powell, the Democrat, Brinker, the Republican, both have their supporters here. We've talked to both sides here. But if Democrats are going to win the House, this is perhaps the lowest of hanging fruit for them. And if they can't win this seat, it may be a bad election night.
Well,
for them.
Just fascinating that you are there. And John, you have now visited 8 congressional districts in 5 states. You get tired just hearing about it, but you have been tireless. What has stood out to you during this trip?
One of the things that stood out to me is that everybody seems to have a message for the president of the United States. Some a little supportive, some are much more critical. And one of the things we did is asked every voter what they would say to the president. We call it Dear Donald. So take a listen.
Ooh.
I would say, ice and get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Potty mouth over here at the ice cream stand.
And treat your people with respect because we're all human beings out there, like everybody. So, everybody should deserve the dignity of a bright life.
If you could say something to President Trump, you had an opportunity to talk to him and say something to him, what would it be?
I love you, brother.
If you could say something to President Trump right now, what would you say?
Resign. You're destroying the country.
I truly believe that President Trump is completely unhinged and disqualified from serving as president. So there's not a great deal I have to say to him other than it would be time to resign.
That guy said that in the nicest way possible. I truly believe he is unhinged. Like, unhinged isn't something you say calmly. Like, actually, I think he's unhinged right now. And I'd hope that he comes back down to earth. Like, unhinged me is just, you've lost the plot, man.
I was in the Navy. We had a captain come on board, and he brought a phrase, or I guess you could say a motto for our ship, and it was press on regardless. And that's what I would say to Mr. Trump. Press on regardless. I think he's doing a great job.
Great job. What would you point to, sir, as a great job? I'd be curious to know it. If you could give me one example of what he's done, love to hear that.
And Christian, one of the things that also stood out is that we did talk to a number of Republicans who said that they were disappointed, that they felt the president had broken promises. If folks want to hear the rest of the Dear Donald, I think we'll be putting that online later.
Well, we will definitely check that out. I mean, it's just so fascinating to hear from these voters in the different states that you have visited. John, really remarkable stuff. And I know you've also heard a lot about the political divisions that the country is facing on your road trip, right? What are voters telling you about that?
Yeah, absolutely. People are telling us over and over again that they have difficulty having political discussions with their family, with their friends, that they feel like there's been something lost in our discourse and the civility about it. We talked to a broad number of voters about it, but we got a little sample here.
I have a neighbor who I just love, but we can't even broach the subject.
Is that sad? Have we lost something as Americans that we
Yes.
don't feel like we can talk to our friends because
Yes.
of politics?
Yes, I would love to be able to talk to a Republican who is reasonable and share and ask them why you think this man is so wonderful. But I haven't found that person yet, and it's hard to broach the subject.
Well, the conversations I have with friends and relatives avoids politics because it becomes, too heated and too much emotion generated from both sides. You have, from my perspective, irreconcilable differences, and one side doesn't understand the other. They see the world completely, they're different realities.
I don't,
I kind of agree and I kind of disagree. If you go outside and you just hang out and live your life, everybody gets along for the most part. We all go to the same restaurants and watch the same HBO Max TV shows, and we just kind of get along, right? But yes, people are in their silos for politics, but I think the majority of people try to avoid politics anyways. And it's just too emotional and not worth it. But I would argue that we share the same values, the same ideals, and the same goals. We just have some different ideas how to get there. And we also, sadly, disagree on the facts because the right-wing misinformation machine has been poisoning a lot of people's minds with nonsense. But hopefully we can get past that.
I could care less who they represent or who they vote for. But a lot of people, if you don't follow their beliefs and vote for who they think, I think there's a real problem because they'll drop you in a minute for that.
We've lost friends over them. They're Democrat all the way, no matter what.
Oh, it's their fault.
People are angry at Washington. They're angry at the establishment, but they're also angry at each other, Kristen. And I think a lot of them feel some sorrow over that.
Well, she really emphasized that, the voter there, I think, in her comments. John, just extraordinary reporting all week long. Huge congratulations. Come on home. Come get a nap. Congrats to you, Frank Thorpe, and the team. Thank you for a remarkable week. We really appreciate it. You guys did great work out there. Coming up, changing course, the Trump administration's new approach to taking on Iran as the USS Lincoln heads home amid reports of poor living conditions and deteriorating morale on the ship. Plus,
we're out of there. I'm going to skip ahead to this talk about the Michigan race.
Desjardins, correspondent for the PBS NewsHour. Joel Payne
Wow, Lisa on a NBC News panel. That's cool.
Democratic strategist and former senior aide for Hillary for America, and Stephen Hayes, editor and CEO of The Dispatch and an NBC News contributor. Thanks to all of you for being here on this busy midterms Friday. Lisa, let me start with you. We just got some pretty notable news out of Michigan, this new poll, and I think we can put it up on the screen. It shows Abdul al-Sayed even with Mike Rogers in Michigan. If you take a look, 48 to 47%. Obviously, that's within the margin of error.
I don't even understand why this is happening. It would be so easy for El Sayed to leave Mike Rogers in the dust if he made a few changes. He's making this race harder for himself for no reason. Just doesn't add up to me, man. I don't understand. I mean, I think it's hubris. I hate it. I want him to win. I think he could be a great senator, but he got less than half the votes on election night and knew he was going to have to make some changes, but he has yet to do much. There's no reason this race should be 48-47. This is not Iowa. This is not Texas. This is Michigan, where we won the other Senate seat 2 years ago in the worst environment possible when Alyssa Slotkin beat her opponent. Barely, but still. That was when the conditions were rough. Now, these are excellent conditions for Democrats. And unfortunately, El Sayed is he's not changing. I mean, it sucks that he has to, but what other prescription is there? I don't know what else he can do to get more support. Kind of feels like he's standing in his own way. I do. I mean, like, obviously I'm biased with Hassan, and it's tough for me to take myself outside of that and look at the race fairly, but even if I didn't know Hassan as a streamer, even if I wasn't involved in the streaming space, even if I wasn't terminally online as someone who enjoys online politics, Hassan's name is out there so much. He's in all the Republican ads. He's talked about on Fox News, and no one else is associated with him as closely as El Sayed in a high-profile race. So I just think it would do him a world of good to trash Hassan and throw him under the bus. I don't think he'll do that, though, at this point, if he hasn't done it yet. But you can see in the interviews he does, he gets annoyed when they ask him about Hassan every time. And it's not just old quotes from 6 years ago that he can handwave as Hassan said something stupid years ago, and he has since clarified. No, I mean, we saw an interview with him right after his election. I think it might have been on the election night. Maybe it was the next day, where they showed comments from Hassan on primary election night that he was asked to respond to. So it just seems like a unnecessary weight around his neck. And, you know, he's trying to become the first Muslim U.S. senator. And unfortunately, when you're the first, you're going to have to do some things that other people don't have to do. And it's not fair, but it is what it is. I mean, I think people are concerned that Abdul El-Sayed is the beginning of losing the America they know. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think that there's a lot of people out there that he represents the end of America as they know
Hassan
it.
has an amazing PR team that manages to clean up his image in the trades.
He does.
Maybe that's why El-Sayed thinks this is a positive thing. All press is good press.
Maybe. But, you know, I also made another point that I did it a little clumsy, so I'm going to try to clarify. On Live and Learn, I said that there could be blowback to the Muslim community at large if Abdul El-Sayed continues to hang out with Hassan. And that's because of Hassan's America Deserve 9/11. I could see all of these millions of dollars being poured into right-wing ads associating El-Sayed, again, a Muslim man trying to become the first Muslim senator, with a guy who said America deserved 9/11, and that having blowback on Muslims in America. And so it's almost like reckless in my opinion, for El-Sayed to continue to associate with Hassan. I just don't see why he holds on to that guy. And then El-Sayed has his own mistakes. When he was asked in the last few days about a lack of black support, He said, I'm from Africa because his family's from Egypt, which is technically on the African continent. That is not a good answer to black people in America having concerns about you, to say, I'm from Africa. Can you imagine? That's like, it might as well be Elon Musk saying, I'm African because he's from South Africa. I mean, that's not a good answer, man. And it's kind of making a mockery of black Americans' concerns. Like that's not a good answer, man. And I hate to crap on the guy because I do think he can be a great senator, and he's charismatic and he's got a lot of people excited, but he keeps putting his foot in his mouth and not making the right moves. I want him to win. I only say this because I want him to win. I do not want him to lose. The last thing I want is a Republican to win a Senate seat. I don't care how I feel about the Democrat. So all of this is just to talk about what I think he could do to help win. There's no reason he should be within 1 point of Mike Rogers. I can't believe Adam Mockler thinks differently and says he shouldn't disavow. I don't know what's going on with my buddy Adam. I love Adam. He is a total sweetheart, and he's a bright young man, and he's got a great future ahead of him. I don't know what's happening with that. And, I don't expect Adam to say that Hassan should be dropped, right? Like, Adam is going to play it politically, and he's going to try to stay in good graces with big content creators. And he's not as involved in this online space. He may not be aware of a lot of the worst things Hassan has said. And maybe even if he is, he's like, well, Hassan still is a net positive in his eyes. And so he doesn't want to rock the boat in that regard. But I think there's a better way to go about it, even if you want to take the position that Hassan should drop. I think if I were Adam, what I'd like Adam to say is something like, there's a concern with El Sayed that he's not in love with this country. And I think it would do Abdul El Sayed a lot of good to push back on that notion and to address people's concerns that he's going to change their way of life. And that's why I talk about El Sayed should come out with a flag suit and just pour it on thick with the patriotism and say, I love this country. I don't doubt that he does. But again, he's rolling with Hassan, who hates America and says all sorts of crazy shit like America deserved 9/11. And I think you have to overcompensate with your patriotism when you're going to be associated with stuff like that. You got to prove to people proactively that you love this country. And I don't doubt that he does, but I think he's got to lay it on thick. Now, throwing Hassan under the bus would just be perfect. And I think that would smooth over a lot of concerns people have. If he were to go, you know what? I found out some new things about Mr. Piker and I'm disgusted and I will not associate with that guy. And I hope Hassan finds a way to love this country like I do. And I will pray for him. But you're not going to see that guy around my campaign. It's only America lovers from here on out. I mean, yes, people will still play the ads with him and Hassan and they'll still attack him. But he can be out there every time there's a camera in front of him talking about how much he loves America and Hassan sucks. And I think that would placate a lot of people. Did you see Conduit's video? I've heard this name Conduit, but I don't know who that is. So no, I have not seen his video on Hassan. Maybe Scott Jennings gave Adam a concussion. I don't know. Adam's also dating some like further left girl. So maybe, I hate to say it, but maybe that's got something to do with it. I mean, if you're partnering up with somebody, you're going to listen to what they say and you're going to be impacted by it. And, women do be having a way over young men. The hormones are raging and, who knows? Maybe he's being influenced. I don't know. Poor guy. I'm not ready. I'm not anywhere near condemning him or anything like that. I love Adam and I really am rooting for him. You know what I mean?
What do you make of this? Because Republicans were cheering that al-Sayed was the nominee. This is going to be a tougher race, it looks like.
I am waiting for my Republican sources to text me, perhaps as I finish this sentence. They're going to be telling me why this poll is incorrect or might be misleading. But the fact of the matter, we do have questions about polls in the primary. The primary poll in this race was a problem. General election polling is a different matter. This is the first signal that perhaps Michigan is in a little bit of better shape than Democrats thought. The al-Sayed campaign, I was there on the ground, they're all about enthusiasm. They're all about trying to bring some new energy into the Democratic Party, bring in new voters. Maybe they're doing it.
Well,
I don't know her point that general election polling is different from primary polling. Yes, the names on the poll are different, but the problem with al-Sayed's polling before in the primary was overestimating progressive support. Why would that not be an issue now that we're in the general? The whole point was that progressive voters were enthusiastic, and so when polled, they were more than happy to engage and talk about it, whereas Haley Stevens supporters, not exactly thrilled and not as excited. The energy just wasn't there, so they weren't as I guess, as represented in the poll. We saw the same thing with Hong, but with Hong versus Crowley in Wisconsin, the polls underestimated Crowley's support, but they were pretty accurate with Hong's support. So my whole point is that I would imagine that progressive support for Abdul al-Sayed is still high and overestimated in these polls as well. So when I see a poll that he's up 1, I'm alarmed. I'm thinking Mike Rogers might be up 6 points in that poll in actuality.
Stephen, what do you see in this poll? And I think Lisa uses a critical word, which is energy. Yeah. We're seeing it on the progressive left. And of course, the question is, can he bring out new voters? Right. That's part of the strategy, at least, and it's a big question mark about whether he'll be effective at doing that in November.
Yeah, can he energize the progressive base of the Democratic Party? I think the answer there is pretty clear, yes. The second question, I think, will be about independence. And, you know, as much as it might be a challenge, Republicans hope it's a challenge for Abdul al-Sayed to rally independents to his side. Donald Trump is struggling with independents right now. He's struggling with independents around the country. He's struggling with them specifically in Michigan. There was polling out in May and June that suggested he had an approval rating among independents in Michigan of 21%. That's a problem. If that's the way that Donald Trump's support for independents tracks through Election Day in November, I think it'd be very difficult for Mike Rogers to win.
Joel, moderate Democrats were nervous about al-Sayed's victory. But again, this polling suggests that this is a real race. Do we start to see Democrats change where they're putting their resources based on some of this latest polling that we're?
What do you mean, Ranthor, that his primary performance was within 2% of his polling? The polling towards the end, at least, was like Abdul al-Sayed plus 17. It was double digits in every poll, the lead. There wasn't even a close one from what I recall. I remember there was a Stevens plus 7 poll, but it was an outlier in a sea of double-digit advantages for AES. So I'm not sure what you're referencing in regards to his polling numbers being anywhere near the election results.
Seeing.
I can't believe you found a nervous moderate. A couple of things. One, color me skeptical of any poll in this moment, because I think they can only tell us a little bit. However, look, this is a high quality poll. I believe Tony Fabrizio, who's the president's pollster, is associated with this poll as well. I think, look, it's clear that this is going to be a competitive race. I've seen some polls that had like Mike Rogers at 39%. I don't believe that. That's not what that number is going to look like in November. What it does tell me is that this is a race that's within reach if Democrats invest in it and if they unite behind Abdul al-Sayed. And what I've actually been impressed with is how Democrats have united behind Abdul al-Sayed. Haley Stevens has been a rock star on his behalf in the first couple of weeks since that primary finished. And I think actually he's been able to bring along most of the kind of establishment class of the Democrats within the state. I think Republicans have a tough race on their hands here in November.
Well, speaking of a tough race, all eyes are on South Carolina today and tonight. Lisa, President Trump campaigning there for Senator Darlene Graham, of course, the sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham. She had that tough moment at the debate this week, struggled on a question related to national security, foreign policy. She's tried to clean it up since then. Voters are kind of divided over whether they care. And the question for her is, can she win the runoff?
Right. I think that this is a fascinating race. I have a big piece of my heart left in South Carolina from when I was a reporter there. And folks I'm talking to there on the ground point out a couple of things. Trump's visit tonight actually comes after early voting has closed. Early voting started right after the debate. That may be favoring Norman. Also,
again, another mistake by Trump. Coming in too late, man. What a doof, man. How does he screw this up so badly? Crazy. I don't know what you're referring to there, Ranthor, because if I look at the Michigan Senate election polls, obviously they have general election ones, but scrolling down, they have the Democratic primary polls, and it's just El Sayed plus 19, plus 17, plus 14, plus 16, plus 11, plus 11. I mean, you're saying the percentage that he got. So he got 49 point whatever, and this shows 48, 57, 52. But I mean, we're looking at the one-on-one matchup here, you know. And these were overestimating his results too towards the end. You know, I'm not going to look at, oh, what were the polls showing 3 months before election night? You know what I mean? I'm looking at what were the polls saying closer to election night. And here, so you have El Sayed plus 19 had 53% El Sayed, 34% Stevens. 56% El Sayed, 39% Stevens. You know, these are crazy numbers, and it was way off there. So when I see that he's only 1 point ahead of Mike Rogers, it makes me think Mike Rogers probably a couple points ahead of him.
also tonight, a 7 o'clock appearance on a Football Friday in South Carolina by President Trump. That really may not add as much. That may be a signal. South Carolinians are all about their state. Maybe that.
And yeah, it does seem like Stevens is doing more for El Sayed's campaign than he is, right? Like, what the hell? How's that possible? I think it's a tough argument to disagree with. I mean, you could almost make the case that Haley Stevens has done more for El Sayed since he won the primary for his campaign than he has, which is shocking. Like, what is going on, man? He's had misstep after misstep. The recent one was saying he's from Africa. That's crazy, man. What? Like, when she went on TV and did those interviews and everybody fell in love with her again, and it was like, she's so cool, she's so fun, and look how thrilled she is to support him. I mean, it was great. And he's just misstep after misstep since then. So I don't know. I'm hoping he can get some wins on the board here and start doing some good stuff. I'm rooting for him, that's for sure.
That's not something that appeals to them as much. But I think overall, what I'm hearing on the ground makes me think that Graham has real problems here going down the stretch. I don't know if this is close or not. There's not really great polling, but the momentum right now is on Norman's side.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm hearing that the polling is kind of all over the place, and there are a lot of jitters about whether Senator Darlene Graham can hang on to this. What are you hearing? Does President Trump's visit make a difference, as Lisa said?
Boy, I want her to lose and win at the same time. I can make an argument for both. If she loses, it shows Trump's power has weakened tremendously. I mean, he's all in on her. He has a rally tonight. He endorsed her. I mean, her performance in the primary of the special election 2 weeks ago was bad enough, where she got, I think, 1 in 3 Republican votes, meaning 2/3 of the people that voted in that primary voted for someone other than the Trump endorsed nominee. And I think it would also show just huge problems in the Republican Party as they're split and Trump is weak. But if she wins, then, you know, this numbnuts is on the ballot. And I guarantee she puts her foot in her mouth again between now and November. She's already said 2 stupid things. Now, imagine if she gets into a debate with the Democrat. She's going to have to. She's going to look very poor it's going to be a poor performance, I guarantee. So she would be great for Democrats, not only in South Carolina, but across the board. Just another weak candidate. That is one explanation, one of the big explanations for why Democrats did better in their midterms under Biden than they should have. Historically, the party in the White House gets their teeth kicked in the first midterms. And under Biden in 2022, we did pretty well. We lost the House, but the Republicans had such a small minority that it caused so many problems. Everything from multiple ballots to pick a speaker to kicking out their own speaker for the first time in our nation's history, to being unable to do jack shit and get along with each other and kicking out George Santos. I mean, it's just one problem after another because of that tiny little majority. It may have been a curse for them. And then in the Senate, we picked up a seat, which is unheard of. We flipped a seat in Pennsylvania. So we had a great midterms. You know, it would have been nice if we won the House, but it is what it is. So one of the reasons that was given, one of the major reasons given for us doing better in those midterms than we should have, is poor candidates on the right. Trump endorsed a bunch of losers like Herschel Walker and Kari Lake and Mehmet Oz and all sorts of crazy weirdos, and they ended up costing the Republicans seats. So people are saying, are we repeating that now with these DSA types, these kind of extreme candidates? I don't think it's apples to apples, but I do think it's causing us a little grief, but I don't think it'll be that big of a deal.
Saying there's some local.
Seems like we've avoided our worst case scenarios. Like Graham Plattner was a disaster. He's gone, thank God. And Francesca Hong was going to drag us down. She's gone. So seems like we've avoided most problems. I don't think the DSA candidates in the House are going to get much attention. Notice how nobody's really talking about them. Dara Liza or Malat or, any of these people. Nobody's mentioning them at all. So I think that's going to continue through the midterms.
Backdrop that may complicate his visit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you played some clips from South Carolina before. The voters who said, look, I'm not really following the issues that much, but Donald Trump endorsed her, so I'm for her. I do think you have a segment of the Republican electorate down there that's going to basically be for her because Trump is for her. But there's also a sort of a more ideological, sort of traditional conservative movement down there. Ralph Norman, his friends in the Freedom Caucus. You have people who have endorsed Norman who were close to Donald Trump but are more ideological. People like Senator Mike Lee, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows have endorsed him. I think the ideological conservatives in South Carolina are far more likely to support Ralph Norman, despite the fact that Donald Trump is supporting Graham.
Joel, it's notable. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, also in South Carolina, stumping for the Democrat there. Look, part of it is as he looks towards 2028 and as he looks to shore up his support amongst African-American voters. What do you make of his
This is the
stop?
spoils of South Carolina coming first now, and I bet you he's not going to be the last 2028er. Particularly this cycle is going to be starting to look to build some brick and mortar in the state and build some infrastructure. Just on the Darlene Graham point, it's a big military population in the state of South Carolina. And when you have a gaffe like that that speaks to a big population and a big constituency in the state, I actually think that would be something that I would be concerned about as a Republican in a moment where you already have a motivation gap for Republicans all across the country because Trump's agenda is in so much shambles right now. So that combined with Graham not exactly instilling confidence in Republicans. Look, the Democrats who I talk to would much rather go against Darlene Graham than against Ralph Norman, because I think to get full participation and engagement from the Republican base, it's going to be tough for her.
One quick note on that, I do sneak in. It's amazing. Ralph Norman, the congressman, is running as an outsider against the person who's never held office before. But it's working.
Yeah, it just underscores the anti-status quo incumbency sentiment right now. Lisa, let's go around the map, talk about Texas and Iowa. According to the Cook Political Report, those Senate races are now toss-ups. Texas, a lot of people I've been talking to in
Well, it's like I said, there's a way to run as an outsider and anti-establishment from within, and Ralph Norman's doing it. And Haley Stevens did it to a degree. So I think there's a way for the people in power now to tap into that energy and win.
Texas are skeptical of this. What do you make of
Deep
Cook's
breath, everyone,
report?
as we talk about Texas again.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, I think obviously we have James Tallarico as a different candidate than Beto O'Rourke. He's ahead of where Beto O'Rourke was at this point. He's got his own positives and negatives, but obviously he's doing very well. It is worth watching. And he's against a candidate who has deep flaws as well that I think Republicans would even admit. He wasn't their first choice. But I'm watching in both of those states something else. We're seeing the cattle industry, another example of the Trump economy and how it hits Republicans specifically. Farmers have a real problem on their hands now that Trump has changed or is going to allow in more beef from overseas to try and bring down the price of beef. That's a problem for cattlemen who really are trying to rebuild their herds. They've had a very tough last year. That is not what they want from the president. And this is just weeks from before the election.
Such an important point. Joel, do you think Texas is really in play, or is this fool's gold still?
I think Texas is worth investment for Democrats. I think Democrats have a pretty clear-eyed perspective that it's an uphill battle. I would say this is why Ken Paxton was the candidate that Democrats wanted to run against. Beyond just having so many red flags against him, he actually has not really been hustling. I mean, he's someone who is not known as a great retail politician and as someone who sells well. He hasn't worked all that hard. And Tallarico, you can see, is starting to chip away at some of the troubles he had in that primary with Jasmine Crockett. I think he's bringing black voters. He's going to overperform with Latino voters. He's about as good of a Democrat as you could hope for in this environment for Democrats.
All right, guys, we are out of time, but thank you for a great conversation. Lisa, Joel, and Stephen, appreciate it. Coming up after the break, or should we say after a quick pit stop.
All right. Life in the fast lane. Oh, yeah, she's got an interview with Byron Donalds. Let's check this out.
All right, thank you very much for sticking around. And joining me now is Florida Congressman and candidate for governor, Byron Donalds. Thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations on your win. We appreciate it.
I'm seeing a lot of excited people about David Jolly, the Democratic nominee for governor in Florida. So I'm wondering what happens. Like, David Jolly is a former Republican. I think he switched to independent in 2018, if I recall. And then he became a Democrat in 2022. He's been on TV for a while now as an analyst. So he's quite polished. And he's calling Donald Trump a socialist. He had an interview yesterday where he got some clips pointing out how Trump's the real socialist. So I'm wondering if we got a little star in the making here down in Florida, a little bit of a consolation prize after the Senate race was such a implosion for Vindman. And that Angie Nixon woman is interesting, saying she's not a socialist, even though she's a member of DSA, and laughing, saying she's a capitalist. I don't know. I'm still wrestling with that. Like, what does that mean? Like, can you be a capitalist and a member of DSA? It seems kind of weird. Obviously you can. Anybody can sign up. I could become a member right now if I wanted, but it just seems kind of weird. Like, it almost like waters down DSA, and I wonder how they handle that. They probably don't care at all, but I don't know. I find it kind of strange to be in DSA and to be a proud capitalist. I don't know. It just kind of shows that DSA really doesn't mean anything. It's just a more active club of Democrats, really. Like, that's it. It's just a group of people within the Democratic Party who are there to try to get more affordable health insurance and make healthcare more affordable in America, and probably very angry at Israel. That seems to be a popular topic there as well. And are just kind of energized. That's it. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's much more going on at DSA besides a pursuit of Medicare for all, hating on Israel, and a bit of hate for the Democrats in power right now. Like, that, I don't think socialism is a common theme for the vast majority of people that are showing up to DSA or a member of DSA or call themselves Democratic Socialists. I think if you were to ask most people who identify as Democratic Socialists, they would tell you they are proud capitalists as well, just like Angie Nixon. I mean, there was a poll that showed 1 in 3 Democrats identify as a Democratic Socialist. To me, that tells you that there's no way 1 in 3 Democrats identify as a socialist right now, a real socialist. No way. Absolutely not. She loves money. Hell yeah. She thought the socialist part was socializing. Maybe, I don't know. But she joined DSA in June, just weeks ago. And she also says she joined the Working Families Party as well. That's why I'm making a joke that she joined Costco. She joined Sam's Club. She joined every club out there to try to make friends. Kind of like when you go to college and you just sign up for a bunch of clubs to meet people, right? You join the ping pong club. You join the Spanish speaking club. And you don't know anything about those interests, but you're like, whatever. I met some guy at the coffee shop who invited me and I'm here. She's just joining everything. Networking play, yeah. So I wonder what impact this has on DSA, that people are showing up and claiming the title who share very little of their values. Kind of interesting.
Thank you. It's good to be back with you.
Good to have you back. And as we take a look and turn our attention to this race that you're in, the general election, I do want to start with one of the most important issues facing voters, of course. That is the economy, affordability. Prices have gone up for Floridians under the last 2 Republican governors. If you become governor, how much time do you think you would need, Congressman, to bring prices down?
Well, listen, it's a great question. Affordability is impacting Floridians. The first area we want to start is with insurance costs. We're already starting to see that some of the insurance loss ratios are coming down in Florida because of the tort reform that Governor DeSantis put into place a couple of years ago. We want to build upon that by doing a couple of things. Some structural reforms to Florida's insurance markets.
You will eat the mystery meat and be happy.
Yes. Eat the mystery meat. I love Byron Donalds is going to bring down prices. Okay, buddy.
Places, some structure to place a couple of years ago. We want to build upon that by doing a couple of things. Some structural reforms to Florida's insurance markets, in our CAT fund and other places. We also want to supercharge some of our home hardening programs. These are for the homes that were built before 1992 that were under the previous building code in Florida. We want to harden those homes quickly. We think by doing those things and a couple others, we can push costs down 20%. On taxes.
20%? Go. Okay, bro. Just more lies from Republicans. Going out there telling people they're going to lower their insurance costs by 20%. What, in 15 years? And how would you harden these homes? You're going to have to spend money to do that, right? Like, what does that entail? That involves construction work. That involves money. So where are you going to get this money from? And what is that going to take away from? Like, this is a crazy pitch. 20% in Florida. Yeah, Florida home insurance is insane from what I read. It's not just a Florida thing. It's all across the United States, Texas, California. Florida is up there though too. I mean, Florida feels like ground zero for the housing bubble if there is going to be one. It doesn't sound like there will be, but right now people are unable to sell their homes. I saw some headlines saying we're seeing the lowest number of home sales since like 2000 something. Let me see. Lowest number of home sales, just to see. The lowest level recorded since tracking began in 2013, but I could have sworn I see some interesting. Pending home sales dropped to second lowest on record, plunge due to record low in the West to near record low in the South. Affordability concerns push new home sales lower in May. So I see story after story that people cannot sell their homes and that we're headed towards a crisis where people need to move. Life happens. You have kids, you have a job change, you get divorced. Like you gotta get out of your house. You know, you can't sit there forever. Like people on average move like every 5-7 years. And nobody can afford to buy houses at these rates, at these prices. It's not even the mortgage rates, though. every percentage of interest on a mortgage rate is on like a $4,000 or $5,000 home is like another $300 a month. So, compare these interest rates around 7% compared to 2 to 3% in 2020. It's devastating for people. I don't think we're ever going to get down to those 3% interest rates again, but it's the prices of the homes that is the real problem. People just bought houses in the last few years at high prices, and they want to be able to make money and get their break even at least, and they just can't sell their houses right now for those high elevated prices because nobody can afford to buy them. Nobody can buy a house, man. Like the average, let me see, what is the average home price right now? Average home price. Well, let's look up median. Median home price nationally. Survey says the national median home price in the U.S. is $440,000. Woo! $440,000. So think about it. If you can put down 10%, if you're lucky, that's $44,000. You want to avoid PMI, you got to put down 20. That's $80,000 plus dollars. Who the hell's saving $80,000, right? Like not a lot of people able to just save up that kind of money. And then if you're going to get a mortgage for the rest of it, you're talking $350,000 mortgage, whatever, $400,000 mortgage. You're paying like $3,000, $3,500 a month with insurance and taxes and everything. And you're supposed to keep your shelter costs below 25, 30%. And I'm talking everything, your cable bill, your repair costs, everything. And so, I mean, you'd have to make what? Like $12,000 a month for $3,000 to be 25% of your income. I mean, who's making $12,000 a month? The average household's making $80,000, and that's with two people working. So this is, right now, home prices are like 5 times people's household income, whereas in the 90s and the 80s, it was like 2 times people's household income. So it was much more feasible. Now, it's tough, man. Have you seen any clips from Sean Duffy's show? Nope. What's this guy talking about? Get out of here.
That's actually going to be in front of our voters this November. We'll see what they decide on Amendment 3. If they don't vote for it, we're going to bring that issue back through our Tax and Budget Reform Commission next year with the goal of eliminating homestead property taxes in the state of Florida. If we can't get the math there, then we want to target relief to seniors on fixed income and working families. The third is with permitting reform. 30% of the cost of a new home is governmental permitting costs and timelines. We want to modernize that entire process, shrink those timelines down, pushing down the cost of delivering homes to working families in our state.
Give me a break. I'm willing to bet there's very little room for improvement in Florida. Does anyone think Florida, under Republican control for years, has any room to cut down the paperwork or the timeline for building houses? It's just all bullshit from Byron Donalds. All nonsense. Give me a break. I'm willing to bet Florida and Texas, the red tape is minimal at best. There's nothing left to cut in order to build houses. That's not going to do anything. He's just saying nonsense, man. What a jerk. But that's standard political speak. How did people buy homes in the 80s and 90s when the mortgage rate was 12%? Well, I think it's what I was saying, that if you go look at the price of homes a few decades ago, it was much more reasonable. The price of homes nowadays after the pandemic are just out of control. Like they doubled in some places. It's insane. So nobody's buying homes, and there's a lot of boomers that are going to be crossing the Rainbow Bridge here, and something's going to have to happen with their houses. I saw a Berkshire Hathaway article from like a year ago that said there's going to be just a crash of the market in a decade because of all these boomers in their homes and no one to buy them. No young people will be able to buy any of them. And it's like it'll be just a giant crash of the housing market. Interest rates got so high in the 80s, people stopped buying homes. It stopped housing construction completely. Yeah. Well, and these interest rates aren't even that high historically. Like 6-7% is not a big deal for housing, for interest rates. It's the price of the homes that's the problem.
DNC, turn out for what?
Oh my God, Don with the 5 gifted subs. Hell yeah. Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Let's freaking go. Get some energy around here. Get the people fired up. My buddy Don, 5 subs. Awesome. I love real estate talk. Yeah, Don's in the real estate industry, so he knows best. Tell me if I'm saying anything wrong here, Don, but yeah, those are my thoughts. I try to pay attention. I was looking at buying a house for a couple years, so I was like really following some trends and YouTubers and reading articles. Now I'm committed to just renting and investing my money, which is fine. For buying a home is a lifestyle choice. It's a good investment. It's not the best investment. It's kind of like forced savings for a lot of people, where you have a mortgage and it forces you to buy an asset, invest in an asset. Not a lot of people can comprehend the stock market and they're intimidated by it. And so, if they don't buy a house, then they never invest, and they do stupid things like put their money in a savings account that doesn't get any interest or whatever, CDs or something. But a house is a decent investment. It's not the best, but it's decent, and it's more of a lifestyle choice, like putting down roots, being able to do whatever you want, knowing you have the same payment every month. Me though, I'm a bit nomadic. I'm a bit on the move now. I travel, and I also don't want to cut the lawn. I don't want to deal with fixing stuff. So I'm happy just renting. So don't feel bad if you're not a homeowner and you're a certain age or something. I was convinced for most of my life that I wanted to own a home by age 40. And I'm in Los Angeles, so it's not like I can go buy a $120,000, 1,200 square foot house in some random neighborhood in Iowa or something, like I wanted to stay here, so that, you're talking $600,000 for a 2-bedroom condo. So I figured if I could do it by 40, then I'll be happy. And that did not happen. But now I'm like, I don't mind renting at all. I told my husband I wouldn't move to a red state. Oh no. I did well with my house. Turned out being a great investment. Oh yeah. I mean, house can be a good investment, especially if you got in before the pandemic. But I'm just saying, don't feel bad if you're a renter out there. The average age of first-time homeowners now is 40. Used to be 30 in the 80s. Spot on. Most of my first-time home buyers rely on gift funds from parents to help make buying happen. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. I remember, the idea of saving $40,000 or even $20,000 is just impossible for a lot of people out there, right? Like, just in what world can I accumulate $40,000? Most people never seen that kind of money in a bank account. So, or if anything, they have that in their 401k because they've been investing for 12 years, getting the match or something.
Congressman, let me ask you about the broader economic environment. As you know, that's playing a big role in your race and every race right now that we are tracking. Gas and oil prices are up. Inflation is higher than when President Trump first took office. President Trump says he should be given an A+ on the economy. Do you agree?
Look, I think the president has done.
Let's see if he creates any daylight between him and Trump. I'm actually curious. I mean, here you are, 74 days for the midterms. Trump is not doing well. People are pissed. You can see it is Florida. It is Florida, though.
An A+ on the economy. Do you agree?
Look, I think the president has done a very good job on this economy, incredibly well. And here's why. Number one, wages adjusted for inflation are up again in the United States. Under the Democrats, their economic policy, wages adjusted for inflation were down, and very much so. That's.
Oh, my God. But first of all, who cares what happened under the Democrats? That is not what's on people's minds right now. And we now see wages are below inflation. So I wonder if she'll bring that up. We're right back to where we were under Biden, where wages were not rising enough to outpace inflation. So let's see if she calls them out on that.
Where the prices just got completely out of control. Number two, when it comes to economic growth, we have had positive GDP growth. It's been actually quite strong since the president's come back into office.
Okay. Biden had great GDP growth too. Biden had created jobs every single month, unlike Trump. And I think I'd be curious to compare. I mean, last time I checked, Biden was up on GDP growth compared to Trump.
Three, people being able to take more money home. It was President Trump's agenda, myself in Congress, and many and Republicans on Capitol Hill that moved to make sure that people who were on tip share weren't getting taxed. People who work overtime not getting taxed. The largest Social Security tax in tax cut, in American history for our seniors, a lot of them living paycheck to paycheck. And the fourth one that doesn't get as
That probably go over pretty well in Florida because doubling the standard deduction for seniors, it's temporary, only for 4 years, which is pretty messed up. But I'm sure that goes over in a place like Florida, goes over well in a place like Florida where there's an older population. But we now know that the average tax refund was only 10% higher this year than last year with the One Big Beautiful Bill provisions in play. That is equal to about $360. So you can look it up yourself. What is the average tax refund? And it's about $3,600, and that's up about $360. Now that got burned through very quickly with the tariffs costing everybody about $1,100 in the last year for the same goods and services, and the increase in gas prices that has cost people a couple $100 as well. So thanks, Republicans, for nothing.
Much credit is the Section 199A small business tax deduction that actually kept small business taxes low for our small businesses all throughout the United States. And we all know that 90% of all jobs come from small businesses in the United States of America. And so that's the economic agenda the president has delivered on.
Let me ask you, though, look, inflation was at 3%.
Yeah, it's just crazy to go out there on TV and say the economy's doing great. I understand why you would do it as a Republican under a Republican administration, but good luck telling people that right now.
When President Trump took office, it's now at 3.4%.
What is it? Inflation? Is that what you said?
Let me ask you, though, look, inflation was at 3% when President Trump took office. It's now at 3.4%. He promised he was going to bring prices down on day one.
He's going to say that inflation was high under Biden, guaranteed.
Gas prices are up. Oil prices are up.
Imreally winning.
A Fodic, thank you for the resub on Twitch. Appreciate that, man.
Did he break that key promise, Congressman?
Well, no, the president did not break that key promise. I think if we're looking specifically to oil and to gas, we all know that that's the Iranian regime who decided to put a stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz because President Trump did the right thing in doing what was necessary to stop the Iranians from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And it's important that we talk about this correctly. If the president just let the Iranians get a nuclear weapon and ignore what was happening from a foreign policy perspective, yes, gas prices will be lower, but the Iranians would have a nuke. They will be threatening our allies in that region. And now we all know they have...
Threatening our allies as if Americans give a damn. Like, oh yeah, I'll pay $5 in gas so that Bahrain isn't threatened. I mean, good luck telling people that crap. Again, this stuff is going to land like a thud with people. Crazy, blaming Iran for the rise in gas prices. We started it, man, and we have no way out of it. What are you talking about? This is, I wonder about this race, man. What does the polling say? I wonder. Let's see. I imagine it's Byron Donalds plus 20, but boy, Florida should be in play with this nonsense that's happening. It's sad that it's not. Let's see. Florida governor polls. Let's see. '26 polls. Oh, it's actually closer than I thought. Wow. Okay, hold on. Let me show this. 270 to win sucks. Website's crashing my computer. General election 2026 Florida governor polls. The latest one is from August 6th by James Madison Institute. 1,000 likely voters. Don't know what the hell the James Madison Institute, but 1,000 likely voters. They've got Donald's 45% and Jolly 38%. And then University of North Florida from July 20th, 848 likely voters, has Donald's 46, Jolly 41. So I wonder, Jolly seems to be doing quite well in his media appearances since he won the nomination. I wonder, man, Byron Donalds might be a weak candidate. If he's just going to go out there and tell people the economy's great, the Iran war is great, everything Trump does is great, and you should be thankful for the amazing job we've been doing as Republicans.
Ballistic missiles, but hold on, Kristen, this is important. We know they have ballistic missiles that can reach Europe. That is a direct threat to our allies all through the Middle East and through Europe, and that would have larger economic consequences on the American people and our allies, not just for this year, but for decades to come.
Yeah, again, I don't think talking about our allies in Europe and the Middle East being protected by us going to war is a smart move right now. People are not happy with the Iran war, and they sure as hell aren't happy that we're protecting other people with the Iran war. Thought they were America first. Yeah, like that doesn't seem like a winning message to me. You've got to sell it as helping us right here in the homeland if you want to win people over, but good luck.
President Trump promised he wasn't going to get the United States into another foreign war. Now, the U.S. has been in the war with Iran for more than 5 months. Congressman, what do you say to people who say that is a campaign promise broken, that they didn't want this war?
Well, first of all, I would say look at President Trump's entire record, not just through his first term as president, but even through this one. The president has not put troops on the ground. The president is not committed to never-ending military entanglements like we saw with Afghanistan and with Iraq.
But he doesn't have a way out yet. But he hasn't found a way out yet, Congressman.
But I will also say you have to give the president the room to negotiate the end of the end of these proceedings, because at the end of it all, the Iranians were incredibly close to having capable nuclear weapons. We know they had more than 12,000 pounds of enriched uranium that was weapons grade. The president had to do what he felt, looking at the intelligence, needed to be done today. And I would say when it comes to these foreign policy issues, this is where it becomes very difficult in the press to litigate these things, because whether you're talking a Republican administration or a Democrat administration, the better question is this: would any president the last 30 years stand by and watch the Iranians become nuclear? Would any president stand by and watch that? And I got to tell you, Kristen, I believe that answer is no. Do I want to see $4 gas? No, I do not. I don't want anybody to have to pay that. I know working families just doing the best they can to make ends meet. They see that every day, and it's a struggle. But we also have to understand that if the Iranians had a nuclear weapon, that would put major geopolitical pressure on the United States and our allies, not to mention economic strain on our allies and us as well, because it would give the Iranians more control over the Strait of Hormuz if they had a nuclear weapon.
You know, I'm shaking my head, but I'm loving this. I'll be honest. This is like Mickey D's. I'm loving it, man. Good. Keep saying this bullshit. See how that goes over with moderates and independents. Is this red meat for Trump's base? Absolutely. They love hearing this. They lap it up like cats in warm milk, right? Yes. Trump did the right thing. Yes, we're the hero. Yes, it was necessary. But if you're on the fence for voting for Republicans and you hear this bullshit, how is this any different than Biden telling everybody in 2024, it's all good, man. The economy's doing great and we're kicking ass. People were pissed, like, bro, you're out of touch, man. Why are you saying all that? This is some bullshit. I really hope Dems can message on how ridiculous having a conversation about a ballroom is. I don't know if talking about the ballroom is the biggest thing, but I mean, obviously it comes up as Trump being out of touch and too focused on building stupid things in DC and flying on his unprotected palace, as John Ossoff said, and hanging out with Natalie instead of making your life more affordable. But I think people already know this and they're already angry. Look at all the special elections that have happened since January of last year. And just this week, we know the trend continues with that Pennsylvania House seat flip in an R+18 district that Trump had a rally in 2024. I mean, the writing's on the wall, man. These guys need to distance themselves from Trump and come up with some solutions. Otherwise, they're about to get hit like a freight train on November 3rd. If Iran had nukes, they could do such things as close the Strait of Hormuz. Can you imagine? Yeah. Who needs a nuclear weapon when you have a nuclear economic weapon to shut down the Strait of Hormuz? And by the way, they're going to control it. Notice how there's news reports now of the U.S. considering drawing down our presence at military bases in the region. Like I said, Iran's going to get every single thing they asked for. We aren't going to get any of our strategic goals met in this conflict. Trump went in there. He claims first regime change, gave up on that within hours. Then it was going to prevent them from having a nuclear weapon. Well, nothing's been done about that. The nuclear dust still sits buried under rubble from last summer. He hasn't done a single thing to stop them from having a nuclear weapon since he began this war. And then he came up with the cope that, well, we're getting rid of their conventional shield that they use to protect their nuclear program, right? The missiles, the defense industry, the drones. But according to intelligence, they still have like 70% of their ballistic missiles, and they have tens of thousands of drones, and they have the IRGC's Navy. And so what have we accomplished here? The only thing is giving the regime a lifeline and control of the Strait of Hormuz, which they didn't have before, which they can charge ships to go through and make billions of dollars. And they're a superpower now. They will walk away with the Strait of Hormuz, a new, more dangerous and worse regime in control than even the one that was there before. They will see the U.S. withdraw from the region. They will have their funds unfrozen, like $100 billion in frozen assets that will be given back to them. They will see sanctions dropped that allows them to sell their oil at market rates. And they're the big winner. What do we get? What do we get out of that? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Trump will say that they're chill. They're good guys now. We can work with them. They want to make money. But I don't think that's true at all. So Trump screwed up royally, man. I just read article after article saying he's got no way out. There is no military solution, and he can't work with them because they're fanatics and their demands are ridiculous. They're not interested in making money like Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela, where a criminal gang was running the country. That's not the story in Iran. So he has no way out. The only way out is Iran getting everything they want. And they know it. That's why they're they're taking their time and they're not talking to us and they're firing at ships and they don't care. They're just chilling. And China and Russia are loving it. What a disaster, man. Absolute disaster.
We're almost out of time, but I do want to let you respond to this. Your Democratic opponent, David Jolly, says voters want change, and he says you are, quote, more of the same. What do you say to voters who see you as a continuation of Governor DeSantis, and they say it's time to change the status quo?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. People are choosing to come to the state of Florida because they've left New York, they've left New Jersey, they've left California, they've left Oregon. I can go on and on. Connecticut, Massachusetts, you name the blue state, they've left those states for a reason. And they come to Florida because Florida is a common sense state where we prioritize law and order, limited government, free markets. We leave people alone, and they want to be a part of the Florida dream. David Jolly says he wants change, but what I fail to realize is that when you're the #1 state in all of America and you run the list, look at every metric, Florida is #1 top to bottom. Why would you change from that? What, does he want us to be more like Virginia or New Jersey or maybe Connecticut or maybe Michigan?
Inflation has gone up in Florida under Governor Scott, under Governor DeSantis, both in 2011 to 2019 to present. And unfortunately, we are out of time. I invite you to come back when we have more time to discuss.
I will come back
because
I want to answer that question because that's a very important question. I want to make sure I get to that one.
Okay, fair enough.
Wow, thanks, Byron. Oh, shit, we got a big raid over on Kick. Hell yeah, thank you, Destiny. I appreciate that. Welcome in, guys. I'll turn off the followers mode. DGGAE loves IRI. Oh, that is too sweet. What was Destiny up to, guys? What was he doing? I saw he was watching the Hutch Pisco debate. Who won? Thoughts on skill-based matchmaking? I don't know what that is. Are you talking about in league? I don't know. I haven't heard the debate. We all lost. Yeah. Is Byron being a clown? Yeah, so Byron Donalds here is the Republican nominee for governor in Florida, but we were looking at some polls, and David Jolly, the Democratic nominee, is like 5-6 points in striking distance of him. So David Jolly won the nomination on Tuesday, and he's a polished guy. He's a former congressman. He's a former Republican. He switched to independent in 2018 and Democrat 2022, I believe. But he's been on TV as an analyst for years, and so he's just been doing great TV hits, and people starting to get a little excited, thinking there may be something here. Hutch, Pisco, and some random stuff about COVID lab leak. Yeah. Why is this guy spamming in my channel? We're gonna have to get rid of you, buddy. I'm sorry. Take your medicine. You're the last bridge Destiny has. I don't know about that. I think he's got plenty of people that hang around him. I am honored to see my YouTube channel featured on the subreddit. That's pretty cool. I don't know what led to that decision, but that's cool. It's just me, Destiny, and AE. Absolute cinema. Little old me, just chilling. That's cool. I appreciate that. Here. I don't know if I trust David Jolly. Wow, well, he's the Democrat, so you better find a way to like him. I don't know what to tell you there, champ. What else are you gonna do? You gonna get behind the Republican? I don't know. Would you rather see Byron Donalds be the governor of Florida or David Jolly, the Democrat? I'd rather have a Democrat. You are the only useful idiot left. Wow, nice. Such kind words, man. That's so nice of you, dude. I really appreciate that. Fortunately, we'll never hear or see you again, idiot. What are your thoughts on... You already asked about the skill. Somebody else asked about the skill-based matchmaking. I have no clue. What's Jolly gonna do? I mean, the opposite of Byron, at least, not do worse. I mean, come on. Jolly's great IRL. That's cool. Yeah, there's not a lot going on tonight, so we're just kind of putzing around looking at the news. I was going to check out this Jubilee thing with, what's his name? I cannot remember. Harry Sisson. Harry's a G, man. Harry's a gangster when it comes to debating, and I love seeing him out there. He got burned by some weird drama where he was asking chicks for nudes and he was leading a bunch of chicks on. But to me, that was just normal guys in their 20s stuff. You know, everybody's cheating on each other and flirting with people. I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't even that big of a deal to me. But he kind of kept a low profile since then, and he hasn't live streamed. He used to be big on TikTok debating. And so I'm glad to see him back out here debating, man. Good for him. Firecat, thank you for the 5 gifted subs on TikTok, on Kick. Hell yeah. I prefer Harry to Dean and Parker. I like Dean and Parker, but Harry is tougher. He's more of a hard lib. You know, he's not getting pushed around by anybody, and he's pretty confident.
Florida
himself,
Dems
too.
are struggling. They think playing center left will get Tallahassee again, but they don't realize that it failed with Kristen. The only time we ever came close was with Gillum. DL, Doctor, we're fucked.
Well, we'll see. I don't think going further left is working right now in a place like Florida. I think that Angie Nixon is going to lose by 20 points. I'm not confident that people in Florida are looking for that. And you look at all the congressional races like Jared Moskowitz and DWS, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and they beat back DSA further left challengers. So yes, Angie Nixon won as a DSA candidate, but she just joined DSA weeks ago. She also joined the Working Families Party. She joined Costco. She joined Sam's Club. And when asked about her DSA positions in an interview yesterday on NBC, she was laughing at some of the positions and saying, I'm a capitalist. She was asked if she's a socialist and she's a member of DSA. She said, I'm a capitalist. She was almost like incredulous that she was even being asked that. So I don't think like DSA is really resonating in places like Florida. She mostly won because Vindman, the more moderate candidate, shit the bed. But I don't know, maybe Jolly can do it. We'll have to see. Yeah, Gillum was 2018 if I'm not mistaken. That was a different time. She joined the local gardening group. Yeah, she got a Home Depot credit card. She got everything. She literally said, I joined them for universal health care and because they're active. I mean, she did not agree with any of the big policy positions they have, like defunding the police or abolishing borders. And abolishing the Senate was a funny one because she's running for Senate. So I feel like she's just collecting buffs. She's like a freshman in college who is joining all the clubs just to make friends. Like you meet some people at the coffee shop and they say they have a German speaking club and you're like, I don't speak German. They're like, that's okay. Just show up. You'll make friends. It's like, okay. And you show up and you're just kind of there. Feel like that's what she did. And also DSA did not endorse her. Bernie and AOC didn't endorse her. So I want to tell Destiny, did he watch the NBC News interview with Angie Nixon? I almost jumped into the call today when he was doing the Pisco Hutch discussion to ask him what he thought about the Florida primaries. But I had a feeling he wasn't paying attention because of his court stuff, and seemed like he was more focused on DSA versus it seemed like the conversation was more about should we talk to the Vanguard So I didn't want to disturb that by start talking about people he wasn't familiar with. But he should watch the Angie Nixon interview on NBC News yesterday, Meet the Press, because it's hilarious to see her say, I'm a capitalist. There's like, are you a socialist since you're a member of DSA? I'm a capitalist and I own a store. It turns out she owns some sort of bookstore or something. Kind of funny. Should jump in to redirect him away from the slop. I think he was having fun watching Pisco and Hutch talk. He was having a good time. Who am I to harsh his mellow? Join stream tomorrow, make a watch. Maybe if he's on tomorrow and talking some politics, I'll jump in there and ask him about the Florida stuff, because there was a lot of exciting stuff in Florida. He had Oliver Larpin, the DSA candidate, lose handedly to Jared Moskowitz, and Hassan donating $7,000, as Dan loves to point out, to Oliver. Hassan attended 2 virtual rallies for Oliver, and he lost by almost 30%. And only DSA would reward somebody losing a race by 30% with possibly becoming their spokesperson, national spokesperson. There's articles out there saying that Oliver Larkin is being considered to be the DSA spokesperson. Why would you reward that guy? He lost by 30%, wasted everybody's time and money. Shame on Hassan and everybody who misled their audience to donate $5 or $20 to support that guy who never had a chance and was just using them all to build his public profile so he could do something else. The only reason he even ran was because Jared Moskowitz, and he's pro-Israel. That's it. That was the only reason. Never in a million years was he going to win that race. And Hassan knew that, but he couldn't resist the Israel boogeyman and wasted his audience's time and money. I'm willing to bet there's people who skipped a meal to donate $20 to Oliver, because if Hassan said he's got a chance, then I believe probably ate dog food that night. This is the sacrifice I must make. Hope you jump into a call with him more often. Well, almost did today. Almost. He was good in interviews. Well, I mean, okay, but he doesn't know how to win. And he picked a race that he had no chance in hell of winning. So why would you give that guy a promotion? Why would you put that guy in charge of anything? I wouldn't let that guy run a hot dog stand based on what he did in that election. Are you kidding me? He failed miserably and wasted everyone's time and accomplished nothing. And Hassan's cope on stream was, well, we would have 2 years ago, we would have never gotten 36% of the vote in this district. So I think that's huge progress. Oh, really? I'm sure they'll continue the effort and it'll pay dividends eventually. 36% this year. Next year, 40%. If Hutch ends up joining the DSA, would you be okay with shaving your head? I might join DSA. I'm talking about a hostile takeover of DSA. If Angie Nixon, the Democratic nominee for Senate in Florida, can join DSA as a proud capitalist who doesn't support any of their bullshit except Medicare for all, then so can I.
To be fair, anyone listening to Hassan lack brain cells, so the food is wasted on them.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like a lot of those people are victims, man. They're just caught in his spider web. They don't know. When I first got on Twitch, I watched Lyric, and I'm not trying to compare that guy Lyric to Hassan, but you kind of get funneled into the top streamers and you don't think to look anywhere else, and you just kind of chill, and that's like your background noise. So I'm willing to bet 80% of his audience is just people that were funneled into the top streamers, and they just don't even think to look anywhere else. But I am thinking hostile takeover of DSA. They thought they're going to take over the Democrats. We're going to take them over. Imagine if you guys showed up to your local DSA chapters and started pushing them further to the right, you know? Like, what if you get there and you're like, excuse me, I like to propose a motion that we support a public option. Like, I can only imagine if a bunch of you guys start showing up, you would take over in no time. They kick you out? How can they kick me out? Why would they kick me out? If Angie Nixon can join, I will go and just flat out say, hey, man, I'm a liberal. I'm a capitalist. But Angie Nixon in Florida has inspired me because she said she's a DSA member. And she said this is where the action is. And she supports Medicare for all. And so do I. I want to be around where the action is. I do not support any of your other positions at all. But if she can be a member, why can't I? She's a national figure now. So I would be shocked if they kicked me out. My local chapter's bylaws say you can be removed if you ideologically disagree enough. Wow. That's crazy. If you join, do you think Hassan will host you? No. I'm not a porn star or someone he can clout shark off of, I guess. I don't know. I think those are the requirements. I have no idea. They have a clause against people who aren't super pro-Palestine. I'll just stay mum about that. I'll just say I'm here for Medicare for all. That's why I'm here. But I just imagine if like 10 people rolled up that were libs and joined and just kind of kept it chill and quiet and got to know people and then started gaining power, like moving up the chain, and then started proposing sort of watered down things that kind of change the direction of the chapter, but in a smart way. I bet you could totally take over because people will start leaving because it's not going the direction they want, but you kind of do it subtly. It's not like you come in there swinging. This would be a long-term project. You really look at the NHS and think, yes, I want that. Yes, of course. I look at what Canada has where they pay half of what we pay for healthcare. I look at the lack of medical bankruptcies in Canada. I look at my health insurance bill every month of $760 for a silver plan with 2 plans above it and an $8,000 max out-of-pocket cost and a $1,500 deductible. And I go, something's got to give here, man. Something's got to change. So yeah, I think Medicare for all would be great. And for all the horror stories you hear about NHS or Canada's system, there's millions of success stories. And by the way, everybody loves the VA and Medicare in America. People can't wait to get on Medicare. So obviously it's doing very well here in America. So why wouldn't I want everyone to be on that? I don't understand. So do you think people hate Medicare in America? What's wrong with expanding Medicare? Because Medicare and the VA are doing very well. Experience the NHS and you will think different. Yes, I know. I know. You're some rando who had a bad experience. What about the millions of stories of people that had a great experience at there? You never hear that. You only hear the crybabies who are screaming. I'm sure you would love to pay $760 a month for your silver plan and still have $85 copays. Oh, yes, that's what I want. Yes. Let's pay more than a car note for health insurance every month. He's probably American. He's probably just a shithead, but he's gone now. He's been kicked to the curb. Okay, I got to use the restroom, and then I'm going to press play on this MAGA versus liberal video, and hopefully Jubilee doesn't shut me down. BRB.
Deficit spending. Yes, that's right. The same crowd that loves to cry crocodile tears about deficit and debt.
Washington on this $40 trillion low element debt.
Good morning, Greta.
Morning.
Hello from the great state of Michigan. I'm a retired nurse, and I'm going back on Monday. This will be the 3rd year that I volunteered at our local elementary school, and I encourage all your listeners to go and spend a little time at the local elementary school. When you talk about parents needing to work more than one job, I've met parents that work 2 and 3 jobs. They work opposite shifts because they can't afford child care, so that one one parent's working and the other one's taking care of the child. Luckily, we're in Michigan, and I look forward to our school lunch program is free for another year. That's been a great help. I came across an article, and it's a bipartisan group of senators, and Dick Durbin, who I know is retiring, is one of the leaders, and it's called the Protecting Retirement Opportunities and Maintaining Income Security for All Act, and it's been in the works in the Senate and in the House. Both are working on this, and it's a bipartisan group. One of the
and what
ideas.
Mary, tell our viewers what this legislation would do, Mary.
Is what happens when we have a zero birth rate in this country. And I work with families all the time, and the teachers even talk about it. It's one and done. They have one child. That's all they can afford. They can't afford pets. They afford one child, and they don't plan on having any more. And I also wanted to say, with the Social Security, a week ago, Mimi let slide something that a gentleman said. It's not 11,000 people a month. It's 11,000 people a day turn 65 in this country. We're called late boomers, people born, 61, 62, 63. That trend is going to stop pretty.
Cool story, lady. Next time, pay attention when you're asked a question. All right. Let's do this. I don't know if Destiny and Harry Sisson have ever interacted, but I think they would get along well because they're like, when it comes to tough debaters, I think Harry is pretty hard, man. Like him, Isaiah, and Destiny, I think of as some of the toughest debaters out there on the left. I'm talking people who can go at people, aren't afraid of some blowback, not soy, No offense to any other debaters out there. But I think these two teaming up one day would be brutal. They would fuck these MAGA up.
Are you saying that Trump is a pedophile?
I'm saying that he certainly enabled it, yeah.
Really?
Dr. Fauci working with this intent that Republicans have to prosecute him. And I want to point out, all of this is happening because this administration is going so poorly, we have to relitigate 2020.
Oh! That's Harry's buddy, Chris. So this ought to be just a bloodbath because these two hang out and debate together all the time. So this is not going to be a fair fight at all. I don't even know who the other two guys are. I'm friendly with Harry. We're connected on Twitter and we've exchanged some messages. So if I see an opportunity to connect him with Destiny, I'm going to do it in a heartbeat.
I'm Harry Sisson, and I'm a liberal political commentator. I'm Chris Mowry. I'm a progressive Democrat and a political commentator.
I am Daniel DiMartino, and I am a conservative economist and fellow at the Manhattan Institute.
I'm Brian Hollihan. I'm a conservative author and political commentator, and you're watching Roundtable.
Oh, okay. I don't know the first conservative, but the second one is the wannabe Charlie Kirk replacement who is useless. Rylan. I was under the impression Harry hates Destiny. Really? Why would Harry hate Destiny? I'd have to look into that one. Anybody else under that impression? Not Brylan. These fucking geeks. Oh, man.
What does the turnout among Democrats in this primary tell you?
The turnout, extraordinary. I mean, it was a record-setting turnout, at least as we looked back to 1998 or so for a non-presidential primary. So the turnout says to me that Democrats really across the board, if you're an establishment Democrat, a progressive Democrat, you are eager to weigh in, sort of voice your opinion against the Trump administration's policies. And I think to a person, Pamela, the voters we talked to yesterday talked about trying to send a message to the Trump administration, try and have a voice against the Trump policies. But we are here in Michigan, of course, to state that Donald Trump won in 2024. He lost in 2020, but he won in 2024. So this is a deeply divided state. But Democrats are enthused. There's no doubt about it. A question is those independent voters in the middle, how they will react to this race between Abdul El-Sayed and Mike Rogers. And of course, we should point out the broader context of this is Democrats.
So what? I've never seen this show. They just watch clips and then respond. Come on, let's go. Game time, boys.
Must hold Michigan and flip for Republican Senate seats if they are going to win control of the Senate. So certainly it is possible. It is a tough political environment for Republicans. The president's approval rating is as low as we have seen it. But it is not an easy path for Democrats as well here. So Michigan will be front and center, as well as a handful of other races between now and November.
Michigan, I'm going to be honest, it's not looking great, guys. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. El-Sayed refuses to adapt. He keeps putting his foot in his mouth. I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was asked at a press conference, what is his response to a lack of black support or black people that may not support him yet? And he said, I'm from Africa, because his family's from Egypt. Like, bro, come on, man. Like that's like Elon Musk saying he's from Africa. And anyways, why would you say that? Like, what do black Americans have to do with the African continent? Like, huh? Just like terrible answer like that. And the fact that he refuses to dump Hassan just doesn't make sense, man. Doesn't make sense. Now, I want him to win. I think he can win. I think he can win without changing anything. But god damn, bro. Trying to make it as hard as possible. Now, I do want to show you guys some good news, though. This is Cook Political Report right here, and their Senate race ratings. We can win the Senate even without Michigan. Right now, they have 6 toss-ups. This is an organization that analyzes congressional races, and they are well respected. They have 6 toss-ups. 5 of them are Republican seats. We only need to win 4 to flip the Senate. If we lose Michigan, we need to win 5. And they've got 5 right here. Alaska, Iowa, Maine, Ohio, and Texas. All toss-up races. And then they even have North Carolina, a Republican-controlled seat right now, in lean D. So we could see 6 wins and still lose Michigan and even have 1 extra seat in the Senate. So I'm not holding my breath for Michigan. I still hope we win it because it should be low-hanging fruit that's easily won. But that's up to El-Sayed, man. I don't know why AES is so confident, especially with how Slotkin was close to losing. Yeah. He's pretty mind-blown about the Moskowitz response from Libs. Who? El-Sayed responded to that? Sayed is leading in 3 polls done this week. I saw that, but he was leading by a mile in polls before the primary and barely won. So the polls, especially in Michigan, have overestimated progressive support. I don't believe those polls.
My fence is never getting mended, huh? Damn it, Saeed.
Yeah. No, you're going to have to fix that fence yourself, dude. You're going to have to fix that fence. So I just want to show you guys why I think we can win the Senate even without Michigan. I hope we don't have to, but there's definitely a path to winning even without Michigan.
Front and center, as well as a handful of other races between now and November.
The country will be far better off if Democrats take control of the Senate this November.
Not shocking.
Yeah, it's about what we expected.
All right, so look, I mean, Donald Trump promised no new wars. He promised the golden age of America. I think a lot of people are struggling. Inflation is up, unemployment is up. There's a war in Iran that was supposed to last 2 or 3 weeks. We're going on month 6. My question is, I have no idea how you could argue that Donald Trump should have more power and be able to pass more legislation. I mean, the answer is that he needs to be a lame duck president, and Democrats need to be able to investigate the outward corruption that we're seeing and put a stop to some of the other things I mentioned.
Well, the answer is simple. It's the same reason that so many Democrats are leaving your party and voting for Republicans in a state like Michigan. Michigan, you just had a Senate nominee who you should be proud of, Abdul El-Sayed, right? One of his famous comments just a few months ago was that he was mourning the loss of the Ayatollah. So should we pause right now and have a moment of silence for the Ayatollah? Because your proud Democrat nominee did so, and that's the kind of commentary that you want to be in the Senate. He endorsed commentary that 9/11 is okay. He endorsed commentary that we should have, the police abolished, that prisons should be abolished. If you have this kind of thing and you want that to be in the Senate, I get if it's a fringe on the outside, you can distance yourself from it. If you have somebody come in and be your nominee, if you guys want to take away from him and say you're not going to vote for him, we would love it, because Republicans for Mike Rogers and Democrats for Mike Rogers is through the roof happening. And we've seen a momentum on social media.
I would love to.
I don't know if momentum is through the roof for Mike Rogers. Okay. He's pretty lame candidate, and he's trying to bank on Democrats for Mike Rogers, which I don't think is a great thing, and it's probably AstroTurf to hell. I don't think there's any excitement for Mike. His entire campaign is El-Sayed hates America and loves Hassan Piker. I don't know the details of him with the Ayatollah. I'd have to look into that one. But I'm curious to see how Harry and Chris respond to that. Are they going to fight these two guys on the El-Sayed comments and his negatives, or are they going to make the case for Democrats as a whole? Because I would skip the El-Sayed thing and say, look, I think he's got to make some changes and he's got some explaining to do. But the Democratic people came out in huge numbers to elect him as the candidate, but we don't even need that race. Let's see what Chris and Harry come up with. It was a leaked reporting. The Ayatollah thing? Let me look it up, actually, because I don't know that talking point. I thought his sister did something like that, but I guess he did. Let's see. El-Sayed Ayatollah. Leaked campaign audio from March 2026 revealed Abdul El-Sayed advising staff to avoid public comments on the death of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei so as to not alienate Arab American voters. Well, I could see there being a lot more to that story. So it's not like he celebrated it based on that little summary. It sounds like he felt that people would be pissed probably about the Iran war in general, and that maybe even the civilian deaths. If I had to guess, I don't know. Let me look at the Hill article that's referenced here. It references an opinion piece. Yeah, I don't know. El-Sayed said he would rather not discuss news of Khamenei's death at all because there are a lot of people in Dearborn who were sad about it. This is an opinion piece, so I don't know about that. I'd like to hear the audio, actually, if I could. I have a feeling. Let's see. I also want to, there's a quote here from El-Sayed to his team. I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. I don't think it's worth even touching that. That's not good. I'd have to look further into it and see what the hell is he talking about. I'm sorry, but again, this is the problem for El-Sayed is he's trying to become the first Muslim senator in U.S. history. And when you say shit like that, you gotta be very clear and of your position, and you're gonna have to go further to push back on any concern. That's a crazy thing to say. That guy is a monster, Khamenei. Don't even look at what he did to Americans and people around the world, funding Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and all these terrorist organizations and all the carnage that they've done. But the way they've treated their own people and just mowing down 40,000 of them who were protesting in January before the war. That's just a crazy thing to say that there's people out there in America that are sad, so we shouldn't talk about it. Like, bro, what? I mean, I understand not wanting to talk about it, but people sad about it? That's a new one to me.
See any type of statistics that suggest that there's momentum around that, and I'd say that like a lot of what you said is disingenuous, which I can get into in a second. But again, you didn't address the fact that obviously you would understand why people are upset and want Democrats in power.
But you understand why people would be upset about him making comments.
But can you address the fact that like inflation is high, the economy is
Can I
not
ask
great,
how a Democrat Senate would solve any of the problems you mentioned?
Well, sure, in two ways. Number one,
Yes, it wouldn't be a rubber stamp for all of this stupid shit. They would check him on tariffs. They would force a vote on the War Powers Act. They would not push through his stupid one big beautiful bill that is just cut SNAP benefits for 20% of SNAP benefits for people. I mean, on and on, man. What do you mean? Also, they would stop him from nominating extreme, useless, incompetent people like Pete Hegseth or RFK Jr. or anybody in his administration, or pedophiles like Howard Nutlick, who is the Commerce Secretary and went to Jeffrey Epstein's Island in 2012 and lied about it. I mean, what do you mean? There's a million things they could do to help improve what's going on in America.
To effectively make Donald Trump a lame duck president. So something like the Save America Act, for example, could.
What does that have to do with inflation?
Well, I'm saying if Donald Trump wanted...
Nothing, right?
Well, no, it does.
Says broadly, like on these different issues that he just
No,
mentioned.
but how is a Democrat Senate going to stop any war or lower inflation?
Well, two reasons. Number one, obviously Donald Trump has his really only major success in Congress.
But the resolution is about a Democrat Senate.
He won't even let him finish his answer. It's so annoying.
So how is a Democrat Senate
I
going
understand.
to help
I'm just saying,
Americans?
obviously he can't pass, for example, I'm just giving one example, more massive tax cuts for rich people that are not helping your average American. But number two, you're able to investigate, I think have a lot more power to issue subpoenas and investigate the broad outward corruption we are seeing that is negatively impacting people's lives. Like Don Jr. and Eric Trump Jr., for example, are associated with either 16 or 17 different companies right now that they've invested in that have.
So it's about the corruption. So it's about the corruption.
It's a variety of things.
But can we just quickly ask, are you guys okay with the amount of stock trades that Donald Trump has made, the amount of money that Donald Trump has made, the amount of money that his family has made?
I think all government employees should be banned. That includes the president. If nobody's really above the law, which I'd love to say, the president's included just as much as Nancy Pelosi. She'd lose half of her fortune if she lost her millions if she's lost in stock trading. She hasn't voted for yet. I think we should all be in support of something like that. But you specifically mentioned lame duck, and that's what's going to happen if the Senate, has that opportunity to be taken over by some of these radicals in your party that are now nominees. Yeah. But that has gridlock. What you're not telling the audience is nothing will get done. Congress has the lowest approval rating it's ever had, and you're going to want it to do less. You're going to want less things to happen. The question here is not just, oh, we have these promises, here's some fairy tales, this might happen, this could happen, vote for us, and this could happen. Let's look at what happened, okay? Last time your party had control of the Senate, there was 40-year inflation at 9%.
Oh, come on.
We're actively in a war. We're in a war right now.
Oh, no. That's great. Well, first of all, the whole world suffered from high inflation. So was the Democratic-controlled Senate responsible for that? I don't understand the connection. Why did Europe have high inflation? Love it.
That I think we should
Hold on.
We're in a war right now that I think we should end and get out of, okay? We're not at 9% in a war. During peacetime, you had us at 9%. So why ever would the American people...
Peacetime?
Around that time.
COVID.
So when there was global inflation.
And the president...
Harry, why was there no inflation in Switzerland during COVID?
We're not done.
Hold on, excuse me.
No, why was there no inflation in Switzerland?
Excuse me, right there.
What was your response to inflation at the time? The Inflation Reduction Act. Biden is proud of it. No, the congressional office came out and said, how much came from that opportunity of Inflation Reduction Act? $0.00 of inflation was reduced. $0.00. You were really good at putting...
Oh, my God. I haven't heard that talking point in a minute. That is a very dumb talking point. The Inflation Reduction Act reduced inflation by 0. That's not true. Inflation started going down as soon as that passed. I don't think it had anything to do with it, but the timing you can't argue with. I don't have it in front of me, but if you go look at inflation, it started going down around August. I think it passed in August 2022. So I wish Harry and these guys would bring that up. I'd be like, what do you mean? Inflation was this in August and it went down immediately. Thank you, Joe Biden. But usually what these guys will say is that the American Rescue Plan...
Bro in the tan suit stands in front of the mirror every day perfecting his Charlie Kirk impersonation. Even down to the smug smile.
Yep. Usually the talking point from the right is that the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act added to inflation, which again is kind of true, but it's a small amount. It's like 0.5% or something. And we had to save America because Trump screwed up so royally.
An issue with the name of a bill.
Do you support the Inflation Reduction
Yeah, I
Act?
do, because there was a lot of good things in it. There was a lot of good things in it.
Take away inflation?
The largest investment in fighting climate change
These guys are all over the place. What a mess.
in American history and world
because
history. I think
our
it's a good
generation
thing.
saw that, and they're going to say, "Oh, look, they're going to come back in. They're going to put fancy titles on things. They have cool bumper
Riley,
stickers."
but the
great TikTok
problem
trends.
with the
They're gonna do
Democrat Senate
This guy can't even let his friends speak. This guy is annoying as shit, man. This guy's going to irk me the entire debate.
is who are the Democrats that would take the Senate? It would be Abdullah Sayed, who is an Islamist socialist who hates this country, who hangs out with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11.
Hassan Piker, there it is. There it is, man.
Who supports
What is that accent? I don't know. I have no clue.
Mao Zedong, the greatest murderer in world history.
one question.
Wait a minute, it's not just Abdul. Troy Jackson in Maine, who is also a DSA candidate. I mean, do you guys support the Democratic Socialists of America?
We think that any of these Democrats should be elected to office, especially when you have Republican lunatics
Do you
in the
think
Senate. Wait,
socialists should be in the Senate?
I'm not done yet. One sec. When you have Republican lunatics
answer the
in the
question.
Senate, wait, I'm in
simple.
the middle of answering something. You
Okay,
can't answer
you're
me.
gonna say
Another
it. Okay,
question.
hopefully.
I think that these people should get elected, especially when we have Republican senators like Ted Cruz and others who have voted to overturn presidential elections. I feel like that's just something that consistently gets ignored in this conversation. You're talking about radicals. You're talking about fringe. How about
Do you think
trying to
Susan
overturn
Collins
an
is a
election?
radical?
Yeah, well,
Really?
I think Susan Collins rubber stamps a lot of what Donald Trump
So,
wants.
do you think Troy Jackson is fine because he's being a socialist?
Any of these Democratic nominees voting against the things that Donald Trump wants to do, like the state.
And they cast Chris Pratt as Mario over this guy? Ridiculous.
Hell yeah. This guy's a star in the making, I can just tell.
Act is good for America. So you have Republican lunatics in the Senate right now, like Ted Cruz, who have voted to overturn election. And you're laughing. I mean, do you think that's a funny matter? Do you think overturning elections is a good thing?
You shook your head and you denied when he read out statements that your proud nominee Abdullah Sayed said. You laughed and kind of scoffed your head when he said Hassan Piker. So I'm going to give you the chance. Abdullah Sayed hasn't removed himself from Hassan Piker. He hasn't distanced himself. Do y'all two?
This is what I've been saying, dude. It's such low-hanging fruit for Abdul El-Sayed. Kick that clown to the curb. Come out and say, I love this country with your chest. Hassan is dead wrong. I'm not going anywhere near that freak. I will never be seen. And by the way, he shocked his dog. I can confirm. I mean, this is just devastating for Abdul El-Sayed. This is all they got, though. They're just going to keep harping on this.
Right now.
So, two things. Number one, I think Hassan Piker's fine. I have my issues with Hassan Piker, but generally I like him. But again, like,
oh no. Oh no. Cooked. Cooked. Why, Chris? Harry, get your boy in order, man. How does embracing Hassan Piker help us in any way 74 days from the midterms? How?
Wow. But you think it's fine to condone our
I will
laugh at it?
I will respond to that.
That's what you said. I want to give you a chance to back away from it.
I will respond to that.
Perfect.
Again, something that, there's some things about Hassan Piker that I don't love, but a comment from him 7 years ago that he has apologized for, that he clearly...
No, he hasn't apologized. I have to Google this again because I keep having people tell me he's apologized, and I looked for it before. Do you guys have any evidence? Let me see. Has Hassan Piker apologized for saying America deserved 9/11? Maybe I'm wrong. The closest I found last time was that he said he should have used different language. So I see here, it says AI overview. Yes, Hassan Piker apologized and walked back his 2019 comments, stating that he used imprecise language and should have phrased his point about foreign policy and blowback better. I feel like there is some, what do you call it here? There is some editorializing by the AI overview. That's what I've read, that he said I could have used better language. That's it. I've never seen him say I'm sorry. Immediate walk back. Just days after the initial August 2019 Twitch broadcast, Piker appeared on the Young Turks to clarify that he was referring to the concept of blowback, the idea that aggressive U.S. foreign policy decisions in the Middle East had unintended negative boomerang consequences. He noted it was a poor attempt at satire and that no one deserved to be the victim of a terrorist attack. I've seen no evidence that he's apologized. I've never seen anything of Hassan saying, that's my bad, I apologize for saying that. Like, never. Yeah. And I read an article back from 2019 recently that said he tried to clean it up and said, I never said Americans deserve 9/11. I said America deserved 9/11, and English is my second language. So that's part of it. Like, I've never seen anything about him saying sorry. I think he should. I think he absolutely should say sorry for that. It's very offensive. Later reflections. Piker reiterated in subsequent interviews that using the word deserved was a mistake in phrasing, stating, I apologize for those who I have offended. The classic, I'm sorry if you got your feelings hurt by what I said. Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. I'm sorry if you were offended. Oh my God. I'm just tired of people saying he apologized. He said, I apologize for those who I have offended, but most importantly, apologize for giving an opportunity to the right to just like use this against me. Me, he said. Not even against us or the left, against me. So he said sorry for anyone who got hurt by what I said, and I'm sorry that the right was able to use it against me. That's it. Like, come on, man. That's crazy. And the reason why I wanted to look this up is AOC said he apologized on a Sunday show appearance a couple weeks ago, and it bothered me because I'm like, no, he didn't. He's never apologized. Let's not create fiction here. Like, I think he should be, even if there wasn't a race going on for Michigan Senate and there was nothing on the line, he should apologize for those comments. But bullshit. I mean, if somebody has any evidence that he said sorry for what he said, that wasn't sorry you got hurt, sorry you got offended, or sorry that I said it because it's being used against me and I feel bad for myself. If you can find any evidence of him actually apologizing, I'd love to see it, and I will gladly
accept about his apology if he has a 9/11 newspaper hung up. Clearly he didn't mean his apology. Harris.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, within the last few weeks, I mean, if anything, months at most, he hung a newspaper from, I believe, September 12th on the wall behind him because he thought it was cute. So I don't know, man. I don't like people. This is like lazy bullshit to say he apologized. Hope maybe Harry knows better. We'll see. Chris is cooked, man. I'm sorry, Chris. You were failing here, bro.
In context, was just trying to argue that something like 9/11 doesn't happen in a vacuum. I don't think there was any suggestion from Hassan.
What about Mao Zedong?
He's campaigning with him. He's not just a commentator on the fringe.
Can I finish?
He's on the campaign trail. Please finish. I would love to hear you defend somebody that's defending 9/11. Please
Can I finish?
do that. Yes.
Again, I don't think that Hassan Piker and a comment that he made 7 years ago, just trying to explain that something like that doesn't happen in a vacuum. Again, when we zoom out and look at the actual question about Democrats winning.
Dude, this is why everybody needs to throw the clown under the bus, man. There's no explaining. If you're explaining, you're losing. Well, you see, actually, the context was that he was trying to make a point that America is going to cause bad things to happen. Like, bro, no. I would just say if I was Chris, he fucked up, man. Yeah, that was idiotic what he said. And he should come out forcefully apologizing. And I've been embarrassed for him that he hasn't, because I know it's not in his heart that he feels that way. And he just, out of stubborn pride, refuses to admit that he made a mistake. And I think it's ridiculous. But the guy fights for this or that I believe in, whatever. Just fucking dunk on him on this, man. Like, why are you trying to explain his stupid thing, My God. Why are we nitpicking this? Yeah, like it's not even nitpicking. It's these guys are having a field day on him right now. Just dunking, like, oh, you want to defend the guy who said America deserved 9/11? Go ahead, explain it to me, because I don't see the angle here. I don't see what he could have meant by that. So maybe I'm missing something. So go ahead, defend the guy who said America deserved 9/11. I'm all ears. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Winning the Senate. Like, we're talking about and look at the actual question about Democrats winning the Senate. Like, we're talking about why won't you distance yourself from Hassan Piker? Hassan Piker, whether you love him or hate him, and Abdul al-Sayed are talking about issues that matter to the American people. And again, when it comes to Democrats winning the Senate, part of the reason this is happening is because, and I know you know this, you're not going to win arguing on he said or she said 7 or 8 years ago while the American people struggle with higher prices, when the American people don't have health care, when there's a forever war going on, and Donald Trump explicitly promised 2 things: the golden age of America.
You're just deflecting, bro. Harry, save your boy, man. Please, Harry. I don't know what Harry will say, honestly, but I would love to see Harry just throw Hassan under the bus right here. Like, yeah, I'll say it. Hassan's an idiot for saying that, and he should apologize. That being said,
and no new wars, and we have neither of those 2 things.
And what did you both ignore at the very top? What was the very first thing?
Wait, you just ignored election denialism.
Nobody, you didn't answer my question from 3 minutes ago.
Wait, I just asked, we just restarted and I asked
I specifically asked if we needed to.
I don't think election denialism is a great argument, man. It's not something at top of mind for people. Like, just slam Trump on making life less affordable and getting us involved in a forever war and hiding the Epstein files. Like, you got to be topical, man. Come on, Harry.
Have a moment of silence that we might still need to be in right now for Abdul, because he, out of his word, not that he said, she said 7 years ago, just weeks ago, when the Ayatollah was killed.
Do you think we should mourn the Ayatollah?
Yeah, so just to be, nobody thinks we should mourn the Ayatollah, but
Abdul does.
Well,
So
wait.
you're
You're talking to us right now.
Yeah,
you're not
so
talking
you're
to Abdul.
distancing
You're not
yourself from
talking.
your
You're talking to us. You're not talking to Abdul IC.
Okay.
You guys are focusing on a political commentator who's not running for office. How about we look at some Republicans who have actually run for office? So Andy Ogles said Muslims don't belong in America. Homosexuals don't belong in America.
Okay. This is good. I think Harry could have cleaned up the Hassan stuff, but it's good. Turn the tables on them. But, man, there's just no reason to flop around on the Hassan thing, man. Toss that clown. You don't need him, bro.
Donald Trump endorsed him. That's some extreme rhetoric. Yes?
I didn't endorse the guy.
Yes.
You endorsed Abdul al-Sayed, and he, out of his mouth, but not Hassan Piker, not a commentator, Abdul said that we should mourn the Ayatollah, the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, who says death to America. We think we should pause and have a moment of silence.
I get the feeling that Harry and Chris aren't familiar with this talking point, which is bad. This is why I need to get Harry. I don't know if I haven't been on TikTok in months, but you got to be out there debating if you're going to do these big debates, because you got to hear the talking points. I guarantee Harry would have heard the Ayatollah comment within a few days of debating. Like, you got to be ready for this. This is not a huge stretch, I've kind of heard about this, but I'm not debating. I'm not actively debating people. Otherwise, I would have been prepped for this, man. Like, you got to know what these clowns are going to say and come out swinging. And sometimes there isn't a great answer, but you got to have something.
Yet have said that.
What's the full comment? What did Abdul actually say?
He said that we should mourn the death of the Ayatollah.
What's the full quote?
That was the quote.
Okay, maybe he does know the quote. I think he's just trying to sniff out if this guy knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's kind of a good strategy.
Here is the master debater.
I think Harry's a better debater than me, man. I tell you, I think I'm impressed by him. But he's rusty, I think, because he doesn't debate anymore. He got scared away by all the people coming up and asking him, why did you do this with chicks and stuff? He's still doing videos, though. General Martok, thank you for the resub on Twitch. Harry and Chris are fucking this up. Well, that was a really good move by Harry to talk about Andy Ogles and his hatred of Muslims. I mean, that was a nice blow he landed, but there's no reason to not have a comeback for this bullshit. These guys have said nothing unique, nothing nobody hasn't heard before. But yeah, I agree. Johnny said it in the YouTube. This is what happens when you're not getting the rounds in. I mean, that's why when I debated on TikTok, it was to get ready for stuff like this, you know? It's just like practicing shooting hoops before the big game. I mean, you got to get your rounds in. You got to practice.
What's the context? What's the sentence before and after?
On the day that it happened, he came out and said that we as a community should mourn the death. You think that we as a community should mourn the death?
And what's the before and after sentence?
That was the quote.
What's the sentence before and after? No, you're not, because there's a sentence.
Harry's trying here. It's a dirty little trick to try to get them, but maybe he knows something. If he knows, oh my God, all is forgiven. If Harry knows what came before or after, that'll be amazing.
Before and after? No, I'm asking you because you're making the claim. What's the sentence before and after?
I just read it out to you.
You don't know. That's the thing. You're taking a quote.
Wait. It's okay if he said that? Is that what you're saying?
Wait. I'm asking you for context here.
I just gave you context.
No, you didn't.
I gave you the day. I gave you the commentary that he said.
And what's the before sentence and what did he say after it?
Somebody must have asked him about it. He responded with, I think that we should mourn the death.
And the people at home will fact check this at home. So you're saying that Abdul Saeed only said one sentence, which is we should mourn the Ayatollah.
Should have mourned the death.
And nothing else?
You're okay with
that? And nothing else.
But you're not saying.
He doesn't got it. He doesn't have it. Fuck. It's a good strat if he had it. If he had something, boy, he had them on the ropes for a second there. Like, oh, really? Well, actually, did you know this was in a response to a question from boom, headshot. Someone must have asked him. Yeah, you could see. This is what happens with these clowns. They aren't prepared for pushback because they rarely get it. They're used to going to debates and then they throw out their right-wing talking point. And because people on the left don't engage with the right-wing media or right-wing content, they're not prepared for it. They've never heard it unless you're like actively debating. You don't hear these talking points because most people can't stand to watch right-wing media. So they get away with murder. But if you're ready, you can fuck them up. Because they have no rebuttal if you have any pushback at all. They don't have anything.
You haven't answered my question once. It's yes or no, guys.
I really think it's disingenuous for you to bring up a sentence that Abdullah Said maybe or maybe did not say. People at home will fact check this because there's a sentence before and after that you're not including, and it's disingenuous.
What could have possibly made that okay?
No, wait. I don't even believe that he said it in the way that you're saying it. So I'm asking for context.
Can I tell you what he said?
Can I tell you
what he said? What he said is that there are people who are very sad in my community, in this community, Dearborn, because of the death of the Ayatollah. I don't think that it's acceptable for somebody running for the Senate of the United States to say that we should not comment on the death of the Ayatollah mass murder because there happen to be some Muslim radicals living in Michigan who mourn the death of the Ayatollah. I think that's a very reasonable position I have. I think most Americans don't mourn the death of the Ayatollah. I think it's good riddance. And that a senator is afraid of voters of saying that is really concerning.
And if Hassan said it, it'd just be another comment. It'd be in the trashy industry with him. He's a commentator. And it's your candidate. It's the only reason I bring it up.
And that's great. But just to go back to
great. It's disgusting.
Wait. I'm saying to your point. That's great. Wonderful. But to go back to the prompt, we're talking about a Democratic Senate as a whole. You guys are focused.
Damn. Man. That's not good. You know, I get the argument that it's all bullshit, that, okay, you're talking about something that no one cares about, right? But I've been convinced for a while, you got to take these talking points head on and knock them out and then get to your shit, because otherwise these guys just get away with it, man. And nobody's going to hear your point about, oh yeah, that sounds bad, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, so Trump's tried to steal an election 6 years ago. And it's like, dude, nobody cares about 6 years ago. Like, these guys are talking about something that happened months ago. You're talking about election denialism, something the American people didn't give a shit about in 2024. Frustrating.
Get back in the ring, Erie. We need you. Kelly.
I got an email from one of the casting people was it for this show? Let me see what the name of the show is. But I didn't even respond because I'm like, I'm enjoying my life not debating. I'll be honest with you guys. I go to the gym for 2 hours. I go for 2-mile walks a day. I'm getting in great shape and I like what I see in the mirror. I'm a lot happier. And I wasn't even able to get debates anyways over on TikTok. It dried up. This was back in May. I haven't debated since the end of May. Where's the email I got? Hold on. Give me a second here. Yeah, so it's a show called Checkmate. This is called Roundtable. So it's not this. It says, I don't know how much I can reveal, but trying to see if it gives me a breakdown. No, but it sounds okay. Are you a passionate liberal or conservative with strong political opinions and knowledge? We're casting outspoken individuals who are open to fast-paced debate game where you go head-to-head, challenge claims, fact-check arguments, and fight to prove your side has the facts. I didn't like the game show aspect of it. That felt a little out of my it just didn't feel natural for me. Like I don't like a game. I don't like making a game show out of this stuff. I'd rather be able to have my space and just pound on people. So that kind of turned me off a little bit. But if they actually reach out, that seemed like a more impersonal email. But if I get a call from one of the casting people, I'll consider it. What about going on Wick or tomfoolery? I mean, if I get invited, I'll consider anything, but do some debates every Friday night on TikTok. The problem is you're like sitting around for half an hour doing jack shit on TikTok. It's annoying. I'm also like shadow banned or something because my viewership got frozen around 300 and I just couldn't even get anybody. And I know those were just all my audience sitting there. So it was just annoying. And I heard it hasn't gotten any better over there on TikTok. People keep telling me that Parker and the big boys are having issues still getting debates. So if they're having problems with thousands of viewers, then what luck am I going to have? Wick invited you on a few nights ago. News to me.
One of those Democrats.
He must have invited another I'm Really Important.
And you guys are focusing on one senator, but do you take issues with people like, let me bring it back, do you take issues with people like Ted Cruz who have voted to overturn elections, yes or no?
You know, well, first, he's not running for election, and I don't.
But he's in the Senate.
Ted Cruz is a great senator.
Ted Cruz is not a good reference. I'm sorry, that's dated.
Nice thing about doing the TikToks is that we know the MAGA slop talking points. Once you hear them from one of them, know literally everything. Sheeple.
Yep. I agree. I mean, that's the whole point. It's more he said you're invited anytime. Oh, okay, well, that's different from inviting me the other night.
Cool, great. And what about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has not overturned any election, by the way.
And do you condemn Donald Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election?
I condemn the violent rioters that were there on 9/11.
Whoa. Time out. That's not the question I asked. Do you condemn Donald Trump trying to overturn the 2020 election?
No, this is not good. I love Harry and I have so much respect for him, but this is not great. I mean, look at the topic. The country will be better off if Democrats take control of the Senate. So I think you keep it on what happens now. Here's what the Democrats will do. Here's what they'll avoid. Here's what they can change. And here's what they can prevent this crazy guy who falls asleep and goes around with his binky Natalie. I mean, you got to keep it topical, man. You can't bring up 2020. I understand the concern about election interference, but the American people don't give a shit about that. They proved that to us in 2024. We ran on saving our democracy with Kamala and Biden's campaigns, and the American people didn't give a shit. They want to save $4 on groceries. They don't give a shit if Trump is king of America as long as they pay $10 less at the grocery store. So I would just hammer on that. I'd be like, you know, these are the things Democrats could do if they get in there to help make life more affordable. They could extend the enhanced ACA subsidies. That is an 80-20 issue, including in Republican districts.
I do miss your debate content, but the well dried up and your fitness goals are more important. That said, Erie fitness content /Arquen?
Yeah, I don't know how I would fit in my workouts if I was debating too, but it really was more about just the well drying up. Like you said, I mean, you guys saw it. It was very frustrating to sit there and have no gas. Is annoying. And I mean, I took it as a positive sign of the state of MAGA that they were just falling off and bleeding support. So it is what it is, but I have no interest in just sitting there And, you know, because I have to bait people up there. It's not like I can just sit there in silence till somebody walks in like a store. I have to be talking the whole time. So, not good.
I stand by the Democratic process, just as Democrats. Wait. So this is who won the 2020 election, Brian?
Joe Biden.
And he won, fair and square. Yes.
Because they went through a democratic process where they had the opportunity to do that. Just like Democrats in the past have stood up and opposed elections, Republicans are allowed to as well. Just like Ted Cruz.
Oh, he thought he was going to get him on that. Oh, no.
What happened at the Capitol on January 6th, which is the next thing you're going to bring up, was gross and disgusting. But it was. We can acknowledge that everybody that beats a cop should be under a jail.
Okay, great.
But there are people that stay.
And it's not. Do you condemn Donald Trump pardoning all the January 6th insurrection?
That is not the issue at stake. The debate is about the Democrats taking the Senate.
So do you condemn Donald Trump pardoning those people?
Just the people that beat cops should stay in jail.
And you say Donald Trump is wrong to do that?
The people that beat cops. I said that the day he did it.
Great. So I'm glad. But just to go back, so Joe Biden won the 2020 election.
What you're trying to do is.
None of this has anything to do with Democrats controlling the Senate. Are these bad things about Trump? Sure. But does anyone care about Trump pardoning people who beat cops on January 6th in August of 2026? No, not at all. You could bring it up and people will tell you, yeah, that's messed up. But is there a reason why Democrats should control the Senate? Is that a reason why Democrats should control the Senate? That doesn't make any sense. He's going to bring it back to Rogers. He probably will, because it's pay dirt right there, man. Oh, no.
Broad stroke.
I'm asking you a question. He won't answer it. Did Joe Biden win the 2020 election fair and square? Yes, he said yes. Okay, great. But you have Republican senators who voted in favor of overturning the election.
As I think they should. I stand by that. I think you have the opportunity.
So you said that Joe Biden won fair and square. Now you're saying they're good to overturn, to vote in favor of overturning it.
That's totally allowed. It's in the Constitution.
But you're monopolizing the debate right now.
This is crazy.
I say that he won it after the process. There's people that to this day will tell you, process or not, we still think that Trump was the president the whole time. I stand against that.
And Trump says that. And Republican senators say that.
Can we zoom?
Here's the question.
Yes, please.
I think let's zoom out for 1 second. Hold on. Let's zoom out for 1 second. I think the better question: if Republicans hold the House and the Senate, what are they going to do that is going to better the lives of the American people?
A continuation of what we've done right now.
Hold on.
Okay, this is a Hail Mary. This is a decent play. I mean, I said a Hail Mary, but I take that back. This is a decent play. Turn it on these guys. You know, okay, what are Republicans going to do that's so great? So far, they've led us to higher inflation, higher unemployment, GDP's down. Americans are paying $1,000 more a year for tariffs. There's a never-ending war in Iran that these guys are terrified of crossing Trump on. So what are these guys going to do the next 2 years if that's what they've done already? I mean, hopefully he can turn this on these guys, but we'll see. Harry wanted to get the F out of that El Sayed convo. Yeah, I get that, which doesn't seem necessary. Like he could have fought him on the El Sayed stuff. Just highlight some good stuff about El Sayed. You know, there's plenty of stuff you could talk about. And he needed to be well read on that talking point. But turn it on them, you know, talk about what you would like to see the Democrats do that make America better. It's true. They're not going to be able to pass any legislation. They're not going to be able to do anything directly, but it's more about what they would prevent Trump from doing and then list off all the shitty things he's done over the last year and a half and go from there.
Because part of the reason, even if I say that I've interviewed Abdul al-Sayed, I endorsed Abdul al-Sayed, I like Abdul.
What are you doing, Chris? You just want to let everybody know he's interviewed him. I've interviewed him. I've talked to him. Oh, no. Oh, no. Chris works with Adam Mockler in his Mockler Media thing, too. Oh, no, man. What's going on? What's going on with our libs, guys? What's going on with our libs? Oh, my God. It's a disaster.
Al-Sayed. Even if
you walked away, why would you bring it back? Yeah, he voluntarily brought it back to the L conversation. I would talk about some of these crazy Republican candidates, you know. You want to talk about bad candidates, let me bring up X, Y, and Z.
Right now. Hold on. Okay. Because part of the reason, even if I say that I've interviewed Abdul al-Sayed, I endorsed Abdul al-Sayed, I like Abdul al-Sayed. even if you say, well, Chris, I strongly disagree with that, you would obviously understand part of the reason we are seeing this momentum with Democrats is, again,
yeah, Ken Paxton would be fire.
Because Donald Trump has not.
Ken Paxton got a pedophile who abused a small child for years out of prison after 30 days. And you got to have the name ready. I would have all that shit ready to go. Boom, 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 boom. Ken Paxton allowed the abuse of 400 puppies. You want to talk about shitty candidates? We can go pound for pound. You're going to lose this one, champ. Oh my God, so much missed opportunity here. And here we are flapping around about election denialism. Come on.
Not delivered on his promises, and he's more unpopular than he's ever been. So my question is, what are Republicans going to do differently than they have in the next 2 years? Excuse me. What are Republicans going to do differently than they have done over the last 2 years if they keep control?
You look at our track
if I may,
please.
The main advantage of Republicans keeping the Senate is about confirmation for judges who are originalist interpreters of the precedent and of the Constitution. And so it is actually really important to maintain the Senate majority so that Republicans, that President Trump can keep confirming originalist judges. That is the main advantage of the Senate.
Do you two things? Do you understand how most Americans wouldn't?
I would respond. How is confirming right-wing judges going to make my groceries cheaper? How is confirming more extreme judges going to bring down my gasoline prices? Because I don't see it, champ. And that's what the American people care about. They don't care about confirming judges. They're trying to pay their bills, mother.
Would kind of roll their eyes at that and say,
I can tell you, I understand why you asked the question.
A little pro-crime in your party, but we're kind of anti-crime. And
your guy's a felon, so our guy's not a felon. I think the question on most Americans' mind is, what are Republicans going to provide? Because through 2 years, we see less legislation passed from the Trump administration compared to any president in modern American history. We see inflation high or higher than it was when he took office. And
yes, okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Chris pulled it out finally. Bring all the negative stuff up and then say, what? And you want 2 more years of this, guys? Come on.
We see a war in Iran. So the question is, can you name actual substantive things that Republicans could do for the American people?
We've seen it. We don't have to guess. We do a contrast to what the Dems did, which is a 40-year high of 9% inflation. Okay. Hold on. Let me finish. I'll let you finish. And then you have what the Republicans did. We came in and deregulated. We came in and brought down inflation, gave them the opportunity to...
Brought down inflation? Inflation was 3% when Biden left office, numbnuts. It's 3.4%. You did the exact opposite. It's 3.4%. We brought down inflation. How? What are you talking about? But is he trying to say the Republicans winning the House in 22 and taking over the House brought down inflation or something? What is he talking about?
You actually have no new taxes and have the opportunity to bring down taxes on tips.
No new taxes. I got a little thing called tariffs that is a hell of a tax, champ, costing everybody $1,100 a year and counting.
Time. Then we did more and gave opportunities for incentives for small businesses to increase. You can put a parallel of both together and see all y'all did was the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a nice title on a cute piece of paper. And I get it did well on TikTok, but it didn't actually help voters because the actual Congressional Budget Office said, who at the time was controlled by Democrats, that it was $0 to bring down inflation. So if you're saying that you're going to bring down inflation, which is hopefully what you're saying Democrats will do if you get the majority, how can we trust you? Because when you had the majority, you passed something that brought it down $0. We don't.
Dude, you could fuck him up on this so hard. This is so stupid. Number one, it had the largest investment in combating climate change that was so popular in red states that Republican senators were fighting tooth and nail to hold on to those energy tax credits in the One Big Beautiful Bill fight. Number two, inflation did come down as soon as that bill passed. I don't care what the CBO said, that the Inflation Reduction Act was responsible or not. The fact is, inflation went from this to this. This is not that hard, man. This is what we used to do on TikTok every day. Let me see. I got to bring it up now because I know I'm right, but I just want to show it. Inflation Reduction Act passed on what date? So the Inflation Reduction Act passed and it was signed into law. It was signed into law on August 16th, 2022. So keep that in mind. Inflation over time Federal Reserve chart. Let's take a look-see. I'll bring this up on stream. All right. See here. I mean, you could annihilate these guys, man. They don't know shit. He's still cooking with his, it's called the Inflation Reduction Act, but it didn't reduce anything. Okay, bro. Okay, so kind of hard to see here. Let me zoom in. Remember, the Inflation Reduction Act passed it was signed into law at the end of August. And look at this. July 2022 is the peak. June 2022, it was around 9%. And lo and behold, by July, it started going down. So you don't have to tell them that. You can just say, you know, what's interesting is when the Inflation Reduction Act passed, inflation was 8%. And you know what happened after that? It went down. Look at that chart. And by July of 2023, it was 3%. And you know what it was when Biden left office in January of last year? 3%. And now it's 3.4%. So you tell me, Bryland, is 3% greater than 3.4%? Because it's not last time I checked. Oh my God, you could dunk on these fools, man. Like Shaq in his prime, breaking the glass. My God. Thank you, Joe Biden. Yeah, look at that. Inflation started coming down as soon as that Inflation Reduction Act got into law. Somehow it magically went from 8% to 3% within a year, less than a year.
I don't trust you, as Gen Z showed at the 24 election.
But you would agree that inflation has risen under Donald Trump.
As we've been in a war, you were in peacetime and it rose.
Hold on. Inflation is risen.
But you admitted that
it was
COVID
9% in peacetime.
Yeah.
Being able to fact check in real time does help. I understand me doing it now, but I already knew this stuff. I just
Joe Biden didn't import mystery meat due to record high beef prices.
Yeah. See, bringing up topical stuff like that would be huge. If I was in this debate, I would have been more prepped. You know what I mean? Like, I already knew this talking point. I just didn't have the numbers right in front of me. Obviously, you can't look this up at the debate table, but now it's fresh in my memory again that it was 8% in August when the Inflation Reduction Act was signed. And within less than a year, it was down to 3%. So you tell me, champ, what was responsible? Because if I recall, Joe Biden was still president at that time. And yes, it's just a dumb name for a bill. But what's so beautiful about the One Big Beautiful Bill? All bills have stupid names that just try to play politics. That's nothing. It's a dumb talking point.
But there's not a single shred of economic data that supports the idea that the government at that time was the main cause of inflation. It doesn't make sense.
I disagree. I can tell you really.
Please.
Well, first, I'm an economist in the table. I'll say that. And what?
It's such a lost opportunity to have a debate about Democrats taking control of the Senate and to get bogged down on inflation from 4 years ago. Like, this is what they want. They're winning the debate when they're talking about Biden and bad things under Democrats. You can't give this to them. You got to knock them out so they don't even want to talk about that anymore. Like, if Harry or Chris dropped the talking point I gave about inflation going down starting in July or August, it'd be over and we can move right back to why Democrats would be better. But you're sitting here playing their game now, talking about Biden man bad. That's, first of all, it's not interesting. Who the hell wants to talk about something that happened 4 years ago? You want to talk about what's happening now. It's resident sleeper. But number two, you're losing when you're talking about Biden, man. And there's so much to talk about with Trump right now. I would end this entire debate by just saying, dude, inflation was less than 3% when Biden left office. It's 3.4% right now. What are you talking about?
Happened in the world, not just in the United States. It's true that inflation went up after COVID, but it was not mainly because of COVID. It was because governments all over the world, not just the U.S. government, by the way. It wasn't just Biden who made a mistake.
This guy he's owning himself. What an idiot. I almost said a harsher word there. This guy is a moron. He just destroyed his own talking point. It was governments all over the world. Okay, so it sounds normal. It was conservative governments too, by the way, like the United Kingdom.
Spending by giving people cash in excessive amounts, unemployment benefits.
Oh, you mean like Donald Trump's CARES Act that was 2/3 of the stimulus package? Is that what you're talking about? Because, yeah, that $3 trillion bill was big. That was a lot of money that Trump signed, that Republicans passed under Trump, and he signed. Hello. These guys love to blame inflation on the American Rescue Plan, which was one of 3 huge stimulus bills. Well, the other two, one of them was big and there was a smaller one, but still, it was one of 3 stimulus bills, and they love to somehow blame all of inflation on it. It's not the Trump bills. No, those didn't cause inflation at all. You're chomping at the bit. I would love to debate, but the problem is I can't practice. There's nowhere for me to practice. So it's like saying, I'd love to get back in the game and play basketball in the NBA, but if I don't have a local court to go to practice, what good can I do?
Basic income that they just give out in cash to everybody. The paycheck protection.
Maybe WIC can set you up. I just don't think it's the reps I need. Like, I need to be there hours a day hearing every talking point. I need to hear everything to be ready, I don't know. Maybe there's another way to prep. Maybe there is another way to practice, but yeah, I don't know.
Program. By the way, it was a bipartisan mistake at the beginning and then continued just by Democrats under Biden that led to so much new money into the economy, chasing fewer goods that prices went up. This is basic. We literally threw helicopter money after 2021 into the economy, and we had inflation. This is basic economics.
I don't see any, again, evidence to support the idea that government...
The Federal Reserve itself has published papers that it was government spending driving it.
How can Harry and Chris not dunk on him with the CARES Act, dude? That was huge.
2 things. Number one, I would love to see that. And number 2, to your first comment, you claim that inflation has risen because governments around the world are printing money. Obviously, if a government in Europe is printing a bunch of cash, I'm not sure the correlation to...
Their own inflation. The EU also suffered it,
Of course, their own inflation, but that doesn't relate to inflation in the United States.
No, of course not. I'm saying that other countries made the same mistake.
Okay. And so I'm going to go back to my original point, because, again, I would argue that we have direct evidence to show that Donald Trump's tariffs have caused inflation, the war in Iran has caused inflation, and that evidence doesn't exist from Biden's...
Well, it does.
Okay, here we go. There you go. Pin him to the wall, man. The Federal Reserve refuses to drop interest rates because of Trump's bullshit with tariffs and the Iran war causing inflation to stay sticky and high. And the people are suffering, man.
Well, I would say it doesn't. But regardless, again, the question remains is what are Republicans going to do differently to solve the problems over the last 2 years?
Several things.
You both agree that inflation has risen and that there's
it is a fact that the CPI index is higher, and it's because oil prices are higher because
and also because of
the situation in the Middle East. That's a fact.
Okay. Still not 9%.
That's huge. Hello? That's huge.
Exactly. It's not what it was.
Oh, Chris, he looked at Harry like, got that fucker finally. Yeah, but it's too little too late, and you got to make a big deal out of it, man. Yes, it's true that the situation, it's true inflation is higher now because of the situation in Iran. You mean Trump's war that has no exit ramp? That one?
He said it was going to lower, and it's only gone up, so it's a broken promise.
Now, the question is about Congress. Right. I think that if Democrats take the Senate, we're going to have more government spending. They're going to try to reverse some of the spending cuts of the One Big Beautiful Bill. While Republicans are going to try to keep those cuts permanent, which is actually disinflationary.
But wait, how is that But obviously you would agree.
What? Keep those cuts, which is actually disinflationary. How? Those tax cuts are not reducing inflation. In fact, they contribute to inflation. If you give people more money, then inflation will go up according to their definition, right? That's what caused He just said it a few minutes ago. More people had money, less things to buy. Well, what are tax cuts? Tax cuts are putting more money in people's hands, and it can cause inflation because of that, right? You're giving people money.
That's his big beautiful bill. Explodes objectively. The 10-year evidence that we have would say that it's going to increase the deficit over the next 10 years. And also, I don't think this is a good way to look at government spending, but Donald Trump has spent more money than Joe Biden over 2 years than Joe Biden did in his first 2 years, and will continue to do so by all metrics. So by exploding our deficit, by cutting taxes and increasing government revenue.
Look, you don't have to ask me. I think we should cut spending. Democrats are going to increase spending, and Republicans are much less likely to do that.
But Republicans,
you do agree that Democrats want to increase spending.
Okay, but
no.
Republicans have this mental illness where they think giving people money isn't the same as cutting taxes, and that the latter isn't inflationary.
Yep, exactly. They do not connect cutting taxes with inflation, but it makes total sense. This is crazy. I would bring up Trump proposing $1.5 trillion for the military. I would bring up that we just hit $40 trillion in debt under Trump. I would bring up that the deficit has risen the last 2 years under Trump. So he is spending more than Biden right now. They're under the Republicans controlling. So their argument that Democrats would spend more doesn't even make sense because we were spending less under Biden. New record. Yeah. Let me see. I'm curious how much the deficit has gone up since 24. How much has the deficit increased since January 2025? The federal budget deficit for fiscal year 26 has increased by $170 billion compared to the same point in the previous fiscal year, with the annual rolling deficit hovering around $1.6 trillion. Oh, wee! So basically, as of looks like February of this year, an article is saying that the deficit rose by about 10% from the previous year. Or no, since Trump took over, the deficit increased by 10%. So we are literally spending more under, well, the deficit, I'd have to think about that. But the deficit has increased. And I don't know if that's spending more. You probably could say we're spending less, but because deficit involves revenue minus expenses, right? So we're bringing in less revenue, I imagine, from the one big beautiful bill, right? We cut taxes, so we're not bringing in as much, but we're spending. So I would just have to see the numbers. I don't feel like going through the exercise right now, but I'm sure you could prove that we're spending more. And I think my example of 1.5 trillion for the military is a good example. Do you guys think, I would say to them, do you guys think we should spend $1.5 trillion on the military? That's like 10 times what everybody else is doing combined. It's insane. All of the debaters we got in the last 5 years need to be replaced. Got to go recruit some new people. Well, somebody brought up a point that Destiny should teach at the debating school. I think it's not. I think it's a good idea. Like somebody like Destiny and myself and some other debaters could help show people how to prep for this and like how to, anticipate certain things, because there's a lot of focus on technique and a bunch of stupid terms, whatever people say. That's a oscillopator. That's a molly-oppadoopity. It's like, who gives a shit about your model United Nations debate tactic or whatever? It's more about anticipating their talking points so that you're prepped, and then as soon as you push back, they have nothing because they've never heard anyone push back on their talking point. They've just interacted with a bunch of liberals who have no idea what they're talking about. School of debate. Yeah, it'll be like School of Rock, but School of Debate.
No, because Republicans literally got in office and increased spending.
But I'm asking, do you think we should increase government spending?
Yeah, Mott and Bailey, whatever. I don't know. That's a Mott and Badoogie. Like, oh, wow. Who gives a shit? I know. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying it's whenever you hear about debate technique, it's always weird shit. Like That's what Andrew Wilson does a lot. He'll bring up shit like that. I understand debate technique.
I mean, that's just like a very broad question. It depends.
You think Democrats would?
I think Republicans would.
Yeah.
I'm asking Democrats.
What you left out. I'm just saying that I think Republicans have already increased the spending. Brylan, Harry.
What you left out of the Big Beautiful Bill that was so scary when you painted the picture of it was that it didn't just do the horrible things that you're terrified about. It actually cut taxes for working people, which is our voting base. It's been scared away from the Democrats. It also deregulated the government, which allowed room for small businesses to come in post-COVID, which is amazing. I think we can all agree.
You could just knock him down on the mat by saying it increased the deficit, dude. So your tax cuts have led to an increased deficit, and now we have $40 trillion in debt, and the Trump administration asking for tens of billions of dollars more for a war that's never going to end, man.
On that. The biggest thing that I'm proud of, and I think our generation's noticed, especially because it went viral on social media, is taking away fraud. There was $50 billion in Medicaid fraud that you can't sit here and ignore. $50 billion in Medicaid fraud. So do you agree that that's a good thing that Republicans got rid of, that Democrats had the Senate beforehand and could have gotten rid of? And other than
Wait. What fraud?
$50 billion in Medicaid fraud that you can't viral on social media is taking away fraud. There was $50 billion in Medicaid fraud that you can't sit here and ignore.
What? What fraud? What fraud are you talking about? Did he say Medicaid fraud? Did I hear that right?
Is taking away fraud. There was $50 billion in Medicaid fraud.
He like jumbled it. I think he said Medicaid fraud, Medicaid fraud. I think he's talking about California and the bullshit that the Trump administration is doing. They're withholding funds for California, claiming that there could be tens of billions of dollars in fraud over the years or something. I don't even know what he's talking about. Let me see. Trump, 50 billion fraud. Allegations of 50 billion pay-to-play fraud scheme. That's not it. I don't see anything about $50 billion in fraud. I have a feeling he's talking about California. Let's see. Trump accuses California of billions in fraud. I see they're withholding $1 billion right now. But I'm curious if I can find the accusation, because I'm sure they've put out a number like that. I don't see it. I'm sure that's what he's talking about. The Nick Shirley thing? No, that's Minnesota. I don't think that's anywhere near 50 billion. But you know, there's all these outlandish claims. Like the Trump administration has not found $50 billion in fraud, right? Like we would know about that. That's insane. That's an insane amount of money, right? So it's obviously accusations, but I don't even know what it is in reference to. I'm just assuming it's California.
That you can't sit here and ignore. $50 billion in Medicaid fraud. So do you agree that that's a good thing that Republicans got rid of, that Democrats had the Senate beforehand and could have gotten rid of? And other than that, what plan do you have? Are you going to keep cutting fraud?
I laughed at your fraud comment, given the fact that Donald Trump was found liable of over $300 million worth of business fraud. Are you against that?
I think 7 swing states voted for the guy after they knew the information.
Okay, exactly.
Did he win the election?
Wait.
Yeah, I'm all for turning the table on Trump and them, but I don't like hiding from the talking points, and it's clear that there's been a few here that the boys aren't ready for, unfortunately. He's talking about the lies Elon and Doge said, but that's $200 billion in Doge savings. So I don't recall a specific $50 billion from Doge or anything like that.
Yeah, but are you?
Seven swing states do that and voted
That's
for it.
great. And
It's
but if you're
obviously
as a matter of principle against fraud, and you're like we should get rid of fraud, you would also say, yeah, I'm against Donald Trump committing fraud. Yes.
And 7 swing states.
Okay, so you're not going to condemn Donald Trump for getting fraud.
That's the $50 billion in Medicaid fraud.
We have one more minute, so we're trying to get.
Go to the time.
Well, you wouldn't condemn Donald Trump's fraud. Remember, we're trying not to interrupt each other. Hold on. But also in the big beautiful bill that you're bragging about, there was cuts to Medicaid, Medicare over $1 trillion over 10 years. And by the way, just said he's proud of it. No, just said he's proud of it on record. And also now we have 400 different hospitals around the United States, many in rural areas, who are now at risk at closing because of Donald Trump's cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Wait, it's not funny though, because people need these hospitals to be able to get.
You laughed at fraud.
Wait, excuse me. I'm not
fraud.
done yet. They're in rural areas. They don't have access to the hospitals that you'd have in Washington D.C. or wherever you live or wherever in Manhattan, right? So they need these hospitals. They're now at risk of closing. I don't think that's funny. I don't think cutting them.
It's not true. That's not laughing. I laugh at a liar.
That's the Congressional Budget Office.
Okay. My great concern with Democrats taking the Senate is simply.
That was pretty good. That's not true. That's the Congressional Budget Office that you cited a few minutes ago. See, now you don't believe them? That would have been good. Wall Street Journal, July 24. Insurers pocketed $50 billion. All right, let me search this. So July 24 is Biden, not Trump, right? So that would have been my first response. You mean under Biden? Because most of the fraud was found by Biden. I don't think I can read a Wall Street Journal article, but I do see another one. Wall Street Journal reporters identify $50 billion in Medicare payments made to insurers for diagnoses doctors never treated. Okay. How far back does this go? 2018 to 2021. Oh, man. That's mostly under Trump. Medicare paid health insurers roughly $50 billion from 2018 to 2021. Oh my God. If they had known this talking point, they could have embarrassed them. You know what's so annoying though? The other thing that bugs me about debating right wingers is you'll sit here and put in all this effort, all this work to go look into their talking point and figure out exactly what happened, when it happened, what it involved, and then you'll push back on them and they'll just bail on their talking point right away. Like, if I had known this and I was in this debate and I go, oh, you mean the $50 billion that the Wall Street Journal identified in July 24 that mostly happened from 2018 to 2021, which is Trump's first term? Is that what you're talking about? I'd love to talk about that. Then they'll be like, oh, well, you see, because you don't want to talk about the Democratic fraud. Like, no, let's go back to you just brought that up.
It's impossible to debate people this shameless.
Yeah, like you'll sit here and put in all this work and have the talking point ready to go and just annihilate them. And they'll just like completely pivot. And you're like, whoa, where are we going? I thought we were about to talk about $50 billion in fraud. I'd love to get into that because it did happen under Trump. And I was shocked as you were that that level of fraud would happen right under his nose. You know, it's like you have to put in so much work and these assholes will just skip on past it as soon as they realize they're fucked. All right, go ahead.
That we have the most radical Democrats running for office that we've ever had. Socialists, Islamists, people like Abdullah Sayed, people like Troy Jackson in Maine. And I am really worried about that because I don't want America.
Islamists. I would ask you, what do you mean Islamist? What does that mean to you? I don't even know what the term means. I'm assuming he means he's like in a radical Islamic terrorist supporter or something. Like, what is an Islamist? Let me see. Islamists are individuals or groups who adhere to Islamism, a political ideology asserting that Islam is not merely a personal religion, but a political system that should guide public life, law, and government. It is distinct from Islam as a faith. Yeah, so proponents believe that society and state law should be based on Islamic law, Sharia law. So I would say, so you're calling him an Islamist. So are you saying he supports Sharia law? I've seen no evidence of that. And then I would be like, what can you point to that is Sharia law? You know, they have no idea about any of that. Tui, thank you for the resub on Twitch. I appreciate that.
To become a socialist country.
I think that reporting.
All right, I'm not going to watch part 2 of this. I don't think I'll gain anything from it. Oh man, unfortunate. Brown equals Islamist. Yeah. a little more. How about you get me to my daily sub goal and I'll watch a little more, okay? I'll make you that promise. I'll do the second topic if we get there, just from you, okay? They man Shakira law. You mean they meant Shakira law? Ooh, baby, when you talk like that. AES is going on Jesse Waters' show on Monday. Nice. Hopefully he'll have a better answer than just deflecting from his friend Hassan Piker saying America deserved 9/11. Dude is just smiling at that pedo protector. Wow, that's their leader. They're basking in his glory. They love it. They're like, there he is, my man. They're jealous of Natalie for being a binky for him, and they can't be it. I'd love to worship Trump. I'd wash his feet every day. Got to be more prepared. Yeah. I love Harry. I don't know that much about Chris. I'm a big Harry Sisson fan, and I still am, but I don't think they were as prepared as they could have been for this, unfortunately. And I don't know if they could have been prepared. I mean, but these talking points don't seem that out there to me. I'm willing to bet a couple of days on TikTok, you would have heard these talking points and been able to do a little research after the stream and come up with a better answer, you know?
Hey guy, how is your Friday night? We appreciate you.
Royal Blood, thank you for resubscribing on Twitch. I'm doing good, man. I'm chilling. I'm doing just fine. I had a confrontation at the gym. I shouldn't have done it. I don't know why I did. I sometimes I do some really stupid things. I mean, I didn't walk away, you know, it wasn't like a fight or anything, but it was like, why do I do this? I'll tell you guys. There were these two young guys in there, probably like 19 years old. And there's a gym at my complex I go to. It's like a short walk from my front door. And it's normally like 5 people in there. I'm there around noon, you know, so people on their lunch break or whatever. And sometimes there's little kids running around. And I tolerate all sorts of shit, you know, like it is what it is. People do stupid things sometimes, like little kids. There's a room to put your kids, and then sometimes the kids will be screaming, and then sometimes there's kids like just dicking around in the gym using equipment. And I'm like, you know, I'm not here to police the gym, and it's, you know, just stupid shit, but I'm pretty chill. But today there was these two young guys and they were playing music on their phone. And I was like, what the fuck is this, man? And it's like, that's like a huge sin at the gym. That's like playing your phone out loud on the train or the plane. Like, dude, you just don't do that at the gym. You don't just play music on your phone out loud. Like that is, you do not do that. That is like gym etiquette 101. And one of them was teaching his buddy how to lift, but it was terrible form. He was like doing quick motions, like, and he was correcting his friend. Like neither of them had any idea what they're doing. So clearly they like weren't familiar with the gym. But I didn't say anything, and they were playing the music right next to me too. And I was kind of annoying. I had my headphones in, you know, it's like, all right, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not here to police the gym or nothing. Right. But then one of the staff members came in doing a tour, and she had some people with her, and she was showing the gym, and she had to tell them like sternly, hey, you can't have loud music in here. You got to have headphones on. And they were like, kind of gave her a little lip about it. And then they turned off their phone eventually. And, you know, I could see the look on the face of the two people that she was giving a tour to. They were like, what is this like hood shit? You know, and what is going on in this complex where people are just dicking around in the gym playing loud music? Like, I've never been in a gym in my life and seen people playing music. So it was just not a good look for her doing her job, trying to sell the place, you know? And I know her because she helped me get my apartment. And so then she leaves and they turn off their music. And as soon as she left, they turned it back on. They turned it back on. And so I'm doing and it was right next to me too, you know? And I'm like, and I don't know, after a couple minutes, I just got annoyed and I was like, I took out my headphones and I said, why you gotta disrespect blank? I don't know why I said it like that. I was like, hey man, why you gotta disrespect? And I said her name and they like looked at me and they're like, what? And I was like, she told you not to play the music in here. She's trying to do a tour and you guys are breaking the rules. And they were like, it was just they're like, oh, it's not even that loud, man. Like, what's your problem? Like, I can hear it. Like, cause I could hear it. I was trying to listen to like a YouTube video and I could hear their music. And they're like, man, it's not a big deal, man. Like, just do your thing. Don't worry about it. I was like, well, I can hear it. It's bugging me and you're not supposed to have music in it. And I said, listen, I respect you guys coming to the gym. I applaud you for that. And I think that's dope, but you can't be playing music out loud. I said, what if everybody did it? It'd be chaos in here. And they're like, man, you're taking me away from my workout by talking to me right now. I was like, all right, dude, you do you, man. It's, it is what it is, bro. You do you, man. And that was the end of it. And then I finished my workout like 10 minutes and they kept playing music. And then I went and I ratted them out again. And then hopefully she kicked their asses out of there. But I don't know why I bothered doing it. I was just so pissed that they like didn't listen to her, like disrespected her like that. I don't know why. It's stupid. But afterwards I was like, I shouldn't have said anything, but I could have whooped their asses. One of them, they were like tubby, out of shape, useless. Like they were not in good shape and I'm in decent shape. So like they did not step up to me or anything. It was kind of funny. I'm like, kind of bodying them, but they were little dicks. They kept doing it even after I said something. They just kept playing their music, but they're being rude. Yeah, but it didn't do anything. Like it didn't solve anything. It didn't help. Now it just made it weird, like I don't know. I wanted the smoke. Yeah, sometimes I do stupid shit like that. I don't know. Like what's the point of that, Stupid. I'm too old to be yelling at teenagers. They're like, do you work here? I said, no, I live here. And they're like, I live here too. It's like, okay, then you should know the rules and have some respect for the space, But I don't know. I guess I was feeling myself and I knew they wouldn't do shit. And I just felt like telling them they're being disrespectful to the staff member by doing that, I don't know. I think for me, it's more about standing up for people that are doing a job. Like I'm the kind of person where if somebody's doing a tough job and you disrespect them, I will stand up. Like if somebody's cleaning tables and somebody's disrespectful, I'll say something. I don't like that. I don't like when people disrespect people doing a job. And I felt like they were because she told him, don't do that. And she had to. It's like she should never have had to tell them. I was like, all right, well, you're not going to listen to her. Then I'm going to give you guys a hard time. Like, okay, you want to disrespect her. And then I'm going to make your heart race a little bit, But I don't know. It's kind of stupid. The whole thing's stupid. You're a nice guy. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I wanted to give them I wanted them to sweat a little bit. Like, you're not gonna listen to the woman. Okay, well then I'm gonna come at you a little bit, and show you a rough time. But those idiots are probably gonna hurt themselves lifting weights anyways. Their form was terrible. It was like when you work out, you guys know you're supposed to go slow, controlled. You got to check your ego. If you got to do 5 pounds, you got to do 5 pounds. You got to do the bar by itself. Do the bar by itself. You'll get stronger. But it's the idiots that are like, yeah. You're like, what are you doing, dude? You're not even working out. You're just flopping about. You got to like.
And he voted for
control.
Obama.
Erie is based. That is all. Pete.
Thank you, K-Dog, for the 10.
Would you say something if someone was being a jerk to an airport car rental person? Rat race.
I would. I don't know. I just can't stand idly by when people are being mistreated at their job. If two people have beef with each other, that's their business. I don't give a shit. But I don't know. It just pissed me off. But yeah, these two idiots were doing stupid flapping about, moving quickly. It's just like they weren't getting anything from it. One of them was trying to train the other guy too. I'm like, hey, should be asking me for tips over here, man. Come on. giving me grief over their music. It's funny seeing people turn a bicep workout into cardio and lower back. Yeah, like, dude, you're going to hurt yourself, man. When you get to my age, you can't mess around. You got to warm up and you got to lift with control, and you just got to check your ego at the door. And I see results for sure. Like, you can't, when you're
And
20,
he voted for Obama.
Not all heroes wear capes.
D-Man, thank you for the 1,000 bits. You know, when you're young, you can survive anything, but I cannot do that. I'll be down for 2 weeks if I dick around in the gym. I have to really look up YouTube videos on every exercise, make sure I'm doing it right, make sure the bench is right, make sure, you know, hand placement, all that. Yeah, be careful. Was it at least good music? No, it was like some shitty hip hop. And I told him, I said, listen, I like hip hop, man. I just don't want to hear it over the podcast I'm listening to. That's it. They were young guys. I shouldn't have done it because it didn't accomplish anything. Maybe it made their hearts race a little bit, but it didn't accomplish anything. I should have just went and told her, hey, those guys turned their music back on and let her deal with it. Is what it is. I mean, I have headphones, so I just wear my headphones. Yeah, but I even with my headphones, I could still hear their dumb music. And I think I kind of took it personally. Like they, you know, sometimes I'm like, sometimes I don't know why, and I'm sure you guys can relate. I'm like, this motherfucker thinks I'm a little bitch. Like, you're going to disrespect me? And I know they're oblivious. Like, they don't even think about it. They're not like, this guy's a bitch, I'm going to do this. But I take it like that
Were
sometimes.
either of them wearing Meta Smart glasses?
No. No, they weren't. I don't know. I shouldn't take it personally, but I'm like, you're going to do that next to me? You're going to play your music next to me? Nah, that's nah, bro. You're not today. Not today, motherfucker. No. Should have accomplished something, but I had the same problem with kids around my place. I don't know. Some guy wearing a kill your local pedophile shirt got kicked from Trump's rally. That's great. People getting bold. That's somebody being brave right there, looking for that smoke. I would not recommend starting a conflict like that, but it was kind of funny. Like they, you know, I could tell they were pissed, but at the same time, they were not escalating physically. Let's just, I don't think they wanted that smoke. It would have been funny if I walked over for, like, I should have closed the gap with them and just like press the button on the phone. Oh, you want to turn it off? I'll turn it off. Yeah. Take their phone. The kids, man. They were not going to do shit. No, they would not have done shit. Okay. I'm out of here, guys. Listen, have a wonderful weekend. You guys are hilarious. I will be back on Sunday for my Sunday night show. So hopefully I'll see you guys then at 6. Thank you guys for the subs and the gift subs and the memberships and the super chats. I appreciate it. Appreciate Destiny rating and anybody who stuck through the raid. That's awesome. Yep, that's all I got. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you on Sunday to go over the Sunday shows, man. All right, guys. Bye-bye.